Hey Fish Fam, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master. I'm here with my brother, and we're going to analyze my games from Magic 30. Compliments of NZMTG. Thank you so much to Anu, who was working so hard streaming the event, which is just crazy. Does it independently, and did a great job. And so we're so lucky. We don't have just one Merfolk match on stream. Not just two. Not just three. No, not even just four. We have 5 Merfolk matches that we can analyze that I was on stream. It's funny, they tried to kick me off stream because I was on stream too much, but then it just so happens that I was the opponent of the person that they wanted on stream, so I kept being on stream over and over again. You know, they tried to switch it up, but the Merfolk gods kept bringing me back in. All right, so the first matchup is me versus Nicholas Marino. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And our opponent is on Crashing Footfalls. And we're going to see Crashing Footfalls over and over and over and over again because I actually played against this deck a lot. What can I say about this matchup? I used to get crushed in the Crashing Footfalls matchup. They obliterated me for like, I don't know, half a year. And then I found some good plans versus Crashing Footfalls. The problem is, like, on paper it looks good. They've got like a clunky combo. Like, it's so easy to counter the Crashing Footfalls. And it's so slow. But the problem is they actually have a lot, and they have islands. So like, hey, looks like it's a good matchup for Merfolk, isn't it? But the problem is they have a lot of removal. They got Fire and Ice, they've got Dead Then Gone, they've got Stomp, they have Petty Theft. So I actually have no momentum to like put pressure on a Crashing Footfall deck. Nothing. I never do. And then when they slow the game down by turn 5 or 6, they can play a Cascade spell, put the Rhinos in play, and now I'm in deep crap, and I can't race this thing because they just have too many tempo cards. They're just way too mana efficient. So some things I learned about the matchup along the way, and now they're playing Fury, which is even worse. I now play with less 1 toughness creatures post-board. I think that's pretty important. I try to play around Fury the best I can by keeping 1 creature in play. Or I always have to imagine, if my opponent plays Fury, what's my follow-up? Do I have a good follow-up? Can I keep up the pressure? Do I have a plan? So I think you need to be super conscious about this. Always keep 1 creature in play, beat them down, force them to remove it, then replace it. And because we play at flash speed and we have Aether Vial and we have Mutavaults, we have a lot of room to keep like throwing away 1 creature one at a time and then play around Fury as much as possible. Sometimes you don't have Vial, you don't have flash creatures, so you just have to send in. You got to play your turn 1 drop, your Lord, and then just let them all die to Fury. But well, whatever. If that situation happens, it happens. All right, let's look at the game. I am here on the left. Oh, it appears that I have mulliganed. They can't stop the fish. They have Island Walk. What else to say about this matchup? Another thing that makes this matchup difficult is because they have Mystical Dispute and Force of Negation. So they can try to, like, combo on our turn and back it up with counter magic. So it's actually a really tough matchup. Dominic says, please turn off the music. Absolutely not. Thank you very much for your suggestion. I love the music. Can you explain what you look for in a mulligan? I don't remember what my hand was, but here I have Cavernous Souls, Mutavault, I have Tideshaper and Silvergill Adept, and a bunch of blue spells. I think so long as you have, especially with Silvergill Adept, if you have Silvergill Adept, you're pretty good to go to keep a hand like this. And I put down 1 Lord. I think I'm on the draw. And I put the Lord down and I keep the Trickster because if you're on the draw, I more likely than not need interaction more than I need like a beatdown plan. Remember, Merfolk is never racing any deck ever. Like, we just don't, like, our fastest win is on like turn 4. So I'm not going to be playing, I'm not going to have any racing plan. I'd prefer to have like a handful of interactive creatures than to have a handful of Lords. I don't play Tideshaper on turn 1 because I don't know exactly what I'm up against, and I would hate for my opponent. I would hate to play turn 1 Tideshaper. My opponent fetches out a non-blue Triome or something, and then Ren and Sixes it off the battlefield. That would be a terrible start for me. Also, I still just have no idea overall what I'm up against. Just seeing a Wooded Foothills. Okay, my opponent plays 2 random lands, and I have nothing else to do, so I believe I play a Silvergill Adept here, so I can keep, so I draw a card and hopefully curve out. Okay, here's my Silvergill Adept. Now, I try to show a card that is not going to be relevant. I show them a Tide Shaper because it is insanely likely that I'm going to play this card next turn. I try to, like... I don't really like showing them Lords with Silvergill Adept if I'm not going to play a Lord anytime soon, because I don't want to give them perfect information that I'm definitely going to be playing a Lord. I think that's I think it's awkward. So some things I like to show Merfolk Trickster, because if I pass the turn with, like, a bunch of mana up, like, they're going to more or less assume that I probably have Trickster or Hexcatcher. Or, but, like, whatever. I'm not going to show them the other cards in my hand. They can know that I have a Trickster in my hand, because I'm planning on playing it at end of turn anyway. So in this case, I'm most certainly... Usually I'm going to try to Silvergill Adept, reveal the card that I'm going to play next turn, and with almost certainty I'm going to play my Tide Shaper next turn. Do you write down your opponent's exposed cards? Absolutely. Always. Always write down whatever information. My opponent goes for a Violent Outburst right off the bat. Alright, so the game's afoot. I've got no Force of Negation, it resolves. And they main phased it, I guess, to play around Hexcatcher, because I could Hexcatcher at my turn at instant speed. Have you tested Confounding Conundrum? Nope. Not good enough overall. Nice suit, by the way. You're welcome. Yeah, I like to... You know,
it's a cheap suit.
Depends how I feel. And you know what? I felt like looking good that tournament, so... And I... dressed to impress. Anthony says, okay, question. So, Nikachu, I'm building a mono blue Merfolk deck. What are some good cards for the deck? Oh, God. All the cards in my deck. Opponent didn't write down, just taking notice. Oh, yeah, well, that's up to the... I mean, hey, not everyone writes down the cards. I write down the cards. It's up to you. I've been up against a lot of really good players. They don't write down the cards. They don't care. I guess they just have it in their memory banks. All right, so I drew an Ether Vial off of the Silvergill Adept. That's not bad. Like, it can help me deploy my entire hand, and at the same time, I can play a Curse Catcher here. I play the Curse Catcher to give myself some chance at countering another Crashing Footfalls if they play another Cascade spell, if they happen to be choked at 3 mana. Why do pro players always tap the top of the table when they draw it before turning it over? Oh, you mean like drag a card on the table? They take the card from the top of the deck to the table to make sure they're not grabbing extra cards. Because if you lift both cards up from your deck, then you might accidentally draw 2 cards that were stuck together. So it's best practice. As you'll see, I take the card from the top of my deck, I drag it across the table and into my hand.
And if you do that, the judge is going to come by and shoot you in the leg.
Why do you... anyway, I think that's what was being asked. Meta decks are so wanky and boring. Draw a card, win. Well, I mean, hey, that's how Magic is. That's Magic. So my opponent shuffles. I cut. Always cut your opponent's deck. What are you gonna do? We can do opponents. I do need to, like, draw an island, or I'm probably going to get screwed, because I need to tap down one of these rhinos for at least one turn to... But you know, like, with these matchups, especially against Footfalls, they can take a lot of damage from their mana, and they're still playing with islands, so out of nowhere, I can, like, kill them. So, like, you know, you give me enough time, I could end up putting enough lords on the battlefield and just completely wipe the board. Okay, fortunately, so my opponent plays Teferi Time Raveler. Unfortunately, we got the answer in our hand with Subtlety in the main deck. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to pitch probably Trickster or Lord, I don't remember. Because I think I need to keep the Tide Shaper because it's the only thing I can play next turn, yeah. I think I'll need only one Lord. I need to stop these rhinos for just one turn. Nika, have you noticed an increase in views subs since the uptick of Merfolk's popularity? I did see an increase on my Patreon, which is weird because I don't advertise it. And so I had to like put a notice on my Patreon. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my community. Who's the second voice? We got my brother here. For anyone who's not who's always here for my gameplay videos, but not here for Coffee and MTG. in the morning.
Except for that week in Florida.
Except for the week in Florida. Yeah. I do the... Oh, yeah. When I reveal any cards to my opponents, through Thoughtseize, Silvergill Adept, Inquisition, anything, I'll put the cards upside down in my hand. So I know what my opponent is supposed to know. Conic says, you have a Patreon? Yes, but I'm trying to encourage people to use YouTube. But if you prefer Patreon, go for it. Patreon.com/NikachuMTG. And if you subscribe to Patreon, then if you become a patron on Patreon, you can connect your Discord to Patreon, and then you have access to the Merfolk sideboard guide that I made for this deck. It does exist there. All right, now I can't remember what I'm thinking about here. I might be just doing the math. Okay, I did draw land, which is good. I'm trying to make sure my opponent goes down low enough that I can kill them. Because right now, okay, I attack them. I think they go down to 13. Maybe that was inaccurate. Because I can take a total of 8 from them. This is not very play to win. I think I took them off of one of their green-white sources. What am I doing? Because I can put Tide Shaper in play. I can't... Well, I'm playing around something... Oh, maybe I know that... I can't tell. I can't remember what these lands are. But maybe it's preventing Teferi from coming out again. Or maybe it was a red land I was preventing Fury from coming out. To be honest, I have no idea what these triomes do. I'm not really a triome person. I'm an island person.
Tapping out big.
And here comes the Fury. So I think I was doing my best to prevent a Fury from getting hard cast, and then it got hard cast anyway. What is that triumph? What does it say? The top one.
Land, plains, some swamp, forest. Tap.
Oh, then I wasn't preventing Fury at all.
At this point in time, I was in line to bother Mike Poole. That's why I'm not behind you.
Yeah, we're gonna see my brother on stream. If I'm not mistaken, I am screwed here. So I play a trickster, tap one thing down. But I'm at 4 life. And why do you play on? Well, I'm trying to get my opponent to give me a little bit more information. You know, what if they stomped my trickster or something? I don't know. Because I don't know if they have stomp in their deck. I don't know if they're playing with Bone Crusher Giant. You know, come on, give me a little bit more information here, please. You should get him to be your shuffling proxy like Dana Fisher. No, I'm not allowed to do that.
Lame.
It's like there's a certain point where, you know, if you can do it, then you have to do it. Spirit Squad MTG. Yeah, it looked like you wanted to prevent Teferi from having a profitable bounce. Playing the 1-drop, you could just file in the 2-drop. Oh, so maybe I hit the 1 white source on the battlefield to prevent Teferi from coming back. Because we know we settled the Teferi, and I think it was put back on top of the library. Are you allowed to bring a sideboard cheat sheet? Absolutely! And I believe I did bring that thing out. And actually, I think I changed my plan mid tournament. I think I was leaving Silvergill Adept in, and I was taking out Tide Shaper, and then I decided to change it. I kept the Tide Shaper. I took out Silvergill Adept because Silvergill Adept is the more vulnerable card versus Fire and Ice. Yeah, hit that Endanthia Triome. What are you sideboarding? I believe I'm going up 4 Force of Negation. I don't remember off the top of my head. That's why you got to pay for that Patreon thing. Remember, if you're a member if you're subbing on Twitch, Patreon, or YouTube, and you've connected your Discord, you get access to my sideboard guide. I can guarantee you I brought in Force of Negation though. Okay, let's see if we can get to the next game. Because otherwise there's a lot of shuffling. Oh, too far. Okay, this is good enough. Definitely took out the Dismembers. Yeah, Dismember has no place in this matchup. Or it's not terrible, but it's definitely the worst. How about you make a sideboard guide to play against Merfolk? Well, I mean, those plans are in there. Oh yeah, we brought in Chalice. I didn't bring in Harbinger, though. I don't think Harbinger is all that relevant. Alright, Island, Ether Vial, pass. And I do play the Island, not the Cavern of Souls, because I don't want to show my opponents. I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I don't want to show them. I don't want to prepare their. I want them to hold up blue mana, perhaps, for Mystical Dispute or something when it's useless. Alright, so here's an interesting thing. You look at our opponent's hand, it's stacked with just so much stuff. They've got, like, Fire and Ice. I think they have several Fire and Ices, Dead and Gone. In theory, I should be stone dead here. I should just be crushed. Because that's how the Crashing Footfall deck wins. They like kill your creature, 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 and then by turn 6, when you have no momentum left, they'll like crash. They'll then play a Cascade spell, put Crashing Footfalls on the battlefield, and you're like, ugh, I got nothing. I'm done. I'm donezo. It's exactly how I lose these matchups. Thank you very much, Dakota. No graveyard hate for even Yawgmoth, like Grafdigger's Cage? I don't need it. I don't need it. Yeah, I have no graveyard hate in this deck. I don't need it. I'm telling you, people. It's not worth it. So at this point of the tournament, I do think... Okay, I'm not entirely sure how I would approach this matchup, but, like... It's possible that we could have Silver Gill-Adept on the play... and then have Tide Shaper on the draw, because I did side out Tide Shaper. Because one way of eating up this deck is I don't want to put anything in play too early on in the game to get eaten up by like a dead gone or something like that. I really want to make their removal really clunky if I can. So look at this, they go like Leyline Binding on my Ether Vial. All right, goodbye Ether Vial.
That's a new card, yeah.
Yeah, it's a new card. Gotta win the old-fashioned way. Actually, hard casting the creatures. Dakota's super happy. Yes. Those convention lights really bring out the gray in your hair. Oh, my hair is super gray. Always has been. I don't know. The gray shirt makes it not look so bad. All right, back to the game. All right, my hand is loaded with lords. So I'm in a weird spot. I'm like, I want to play around Fury, but at the same time, my hand is loaded with lords. And I also have another awkward situation where, what's it called? Like, I don't want to get blown out by Fury, because that's how you lose this matchup. And I do have some instant speed cards. So I decide to play this Hexcatcher at the end of my opponent's turn. And then on my turn, if I can stick a Lord on the battlefield and a Fury comes down, then they have to blow up the Lord. Yeah, they have to blow up only the Lord and the Hexcatcher, and that's all that they can kill. They will 2-for-1 me, but I will at least have a Silver Gill-Adept and a Mutavault still on the board, and hopefully I can follow up that Fury with a Lord and attack with my Silver Gill-Adept and Mutavault. So I am prepared for this Hexcatcher to die. I'm just having a huge abundance of lords. But I do need one more land to make this plan work out well. My whole idea is Hexcatcher at end of turn. And if they want to play Fury on their following turn. Also, if they want to interact with me right now, that I'm also okay with that. Like, let's say they kill the Hexcatcher. Then that means they can't play their Crashing Footfall. They can't play Violent Outburst into Crashing Footfalls. Let's say they kill the Silver Gill-Adept. Again, they can't play Violent Outburst into Crashing Footfalls. Now, let's say they Violent Outburst and they put 2 Crashing Footfalls in play. Then they can't interact with my creatures next turn. And I'm going to, if I draw a land, I'll smack them for 4, 5, 6, 10 damage. And they're almost dead. Like, they're already at 11. And then it will be so easy to kill my opponent. So, all those things mentioned, I think it is fine. I'm fine with the line that I have. So they go for fire on both my creatures, which is a worst case scenario here. It is a worst case scenario. And maybe Tide Shaper is better on the draw. I don't know. Maybe Tide Shaper on turn 1 is better just to play around this. Because the Hexcatcher Silver Gill-Adept thing is annoying. But now there is a... So the question is, I am going to counter this. The question is, what am I going to sacrifice? Definitely the Silver Gill-Adept. Now, there's something very important about my hand. And that is, it's loaded with double blue spells. Hold on, can we pause this? There's something very important in my hand. My hand is like 3 Lord of Atlantis and a Master of the Pearl Trident. I opt to get rid of the Mutavault activate, turn Mutavault into a creature, and then sacrifice it. Because I do want to keep Hexcatcher on the battlefield. It can interact versus my opponent's, you know, like Cascade spells. But the Mutavault's useless. It's going to be clunky for forever. Like, I'm never going to be able to cast my blue-blue spell so long as this Mutavault's on the battlefield. If I draw another land, it's useless. Like, yeah, I can attack with Mutavault, but I'm eternally just tapping mana to attack with the creature. I actually think it's much more valuable to have all the double blue, have all the lords in my, I think it's more valuable to have Hexcatcher in play and then just play one lord a turn, because that's what I was going to do anyway. So, we sacrifice the Mutavault. Now, I just drew another Hexcatcher, and I believe now what I'm thinking is now I was planning on playing Lord of Atlantis, or sorry, Master of the Pearl Trident, because that's what it was revealed. But now I have Hexcatcher, and now I can actually afford to attack past the turn, and then if they Fury, whatever, I'll let this one thing die, but then I'll play Hexcatcher at end of turn. Or if they don't do anything at all, I play Hexcatcher at end of turn, and then follow it up with a Lord on my turn, making the Hexcatchers 3/3s and the and the Master of the Pearl Trident a 4/4. And as we see here, our opponent, if you look closely, our opponent has Mystical Dispute in hand, and it's completely useless. Completely useless right now because I have a Cavern of Souls in play. That's very, very important. Alright, again, I think they were trying to pick off two at the same time, but they realized they can only hit one. Alright, so I'm okay with this exchange. It's not too bad. In order to play that, they couldn't play Violent Outburst, and again, they're choked on their mana. But they're doing what the Crashing Footfall deck does. I mean, this is how it's done. You kill the Merfolk creatures until they run out of gas. Okay, now I play the Master of the Pearl Trident, because I can't play around Fury or anything anymore. I now have to just play out my hand. It's completely sorcery speed. We're playing Hearthstone now. So you're trying to budget your mana? Absolutely. And then I'll attack for 2, and then probably play an island, and then pass. Are they running Grief? No. Crashing Footfall doesn't play Grief. Living End plays Grief. Are fish real? Yes. It's a pretty real deck right now.
It's a figment of Dr. Seuss's imagination.
Looking at what my opponent started with their hand, it looks so bad for me. I'm so impressed how I got through this entire game. And here's the Mystical Dispute. So they I love it. I love it when I play I just snap said resolve. I love it when I snap resolve. So so that was a pretty big blunder on their part. And then in the end they're like dead/gone, the Hexcatcher. It's like whatever, sure, fine. You gotta be careful. So now they just wasted their Mystical Dispute. People make mistakes. This is round 3, by the way. Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it was a dead... Oh, I wouldn't say it's a completely dead card. There's a point where if I play 2 spells in one turn, I may not have a Cavern of Souls. So here's the Lord of Atlantis. On the stack, it's important because now if the Lord... then my creature is not going to get hit by Fire and Ice or dead/gone. So they have a decision here. They have a bit of a decision. Or they might have a decision. And again, they're playing patiently, and I think this is the right move.
You're complimenting your opponent?
I don't doubt that this is what they should be doing. All right, they played Temple Garden, shocking, go down to 7, but this is very vulnerable. They're super vulnerable here. Do you always play with your library sideways? Yeah, I'm a sideways person. Because that's how I'm pulling the card off the top of my deck into my hand anyway. If my deck was straight up, then I would be turning the card halfway through anyway. Oh, there's a discrepancy in the life totals. I think my opponent's at 6 when they thought they were at 7. Oh no, maybe my opponent's at 7 when they thought they were at 6. When we're on these camera matches, what ended up happening is we have to record our life total for like the judge for the tournament, but then we had a separate life total for the stream. So yeah, they play Fury, cook my Lord of Atlantis, but that's okay. Do you know why? Because we have a lot of life to work with, and I just drew a land. Clutch! Clutch drew a land so I can play 2 spells in 1 turn. And conveniently, I have 2 Lords and a Silvergill Adept in hand. And that is 7 damage by next turn, and my opponent's at 7 life. So if they run out of removal, which they have, I win the game. So I play my Lord of Atlantis. Right now it's 5 power. And next turn it will be lethal. How are you going to see where your foils are if your deck isn't sideways? I don't understand what you mean. I mean, if you have a deck full of foils that's double sleeved, you generally can't see what's going on. Oh, Chris Ross, thanks for the super chat. Congrats, by the way. I heard you placed. Did you win anything? I haven't been social lately. Yeah, I made top 8 and I won a beta plateau. Here's my beta plateau. Here's my beta plateau. I don't know, beta lightning bolts. Oh, and an Arabian Nights pack. All right, and now my opponent is dead because we're gonna play a Lord. And I'm forced. I have to. I'm playing a Silvergill Adept first to see if I can draw some like random interaction, which I don't know if I need. I don't even know what I could draw. I'm just drawing out of principle, and then I'm gonna play my Lord, attack for 7 because I have no other options at this point, and try to win. And now they're like, try to block. Nope. You have islands. So it appears that this is the first time people, you know, some people are playing against Merfolk for the first time. Oh wait, now I did. Okay, this is an interesting moment because I actually could have got blown out here. I would say this is one game I got lucky. My opponent made big punt. Big punt. They leyline binding the Lord of Atlantis that was attacking. What they should have done was leyline binding the Lord of Atlantis that was not attacking. Then that means this Lord of Atlantis is blockable. And they could block with the Rhino, take 3 damage, go to 4. And then this is lethal, so I have to chump block with this other Silvergill Adept. And I don't even remember what I have in my hand. I have like a Trickster or something. But anyway, the point is that they weren't dead. But after that, now they will be dead. Because I can do a chump block for 1 more turn. I have to mention, like, when you play in these big events, these big paper events, you need to have a good deck, you need to play well, and you either need to get lucky or your opponents get unlucky. And in this case, well...
You have to rely on human error.
No, you don't have to rely on human error, but in this case, something went my way. Definitely. Because I could have lost the match at this point. Or I'm not sure if I would have lost the match, but the game would have kept going. Although I was in a position where I have to draw something like really good really quickly. He's saying the foils curling are easier to see end on than on sideways. I don't know if that's true. I personally have not experienced it. I always make sure that the top of my deck is facing outward. I will say that. So I can only see the bottom of the sleeves. I bet they all look the same to me. Alright, so we go to game 3. I don't remember what I do in front of my opponent. Sometimes I'll side in 2 cards that I have no intention of keeping in there and then siding them out. Just to make it look like I did something. Okay, it looks like I mulliganed. Oh yeah, I mulliganed that last game. Is that a lanyard or a scarf? I don't have a scarf on. Oh, I have a badge. Where's my badge?
To your left. To your left.
Here's my badge. Here's my badge from Magic 30. And so that you needed this to get into the convention hall. So yeah, I'm a Sapphire member or whatever. And then I've used some name tags to put Nikachu on both sides so that people know who I was, despite the mask on. And worked. A lot of people could recognize me through that. Worked perfectly. Alright, so I mulligan. I put a Trickster on the bottom because it's actually one of the absolute most garbage cards in this matchup. Turn 1. Crashing Footfall. Suspended. I do believe... Actually, I don't remember what's in my hand. We got Curse Catcher. Sort of a poor card in this matchup, but can interact with Crashing Footfalls. I wish Nikabro could have done commentary. That would have been sick. What, at Magic Vegas?
They wouldn't have allowed it. I'm too close to the match.
Oh yeah,
well,
you'd have to do it further away. Hey, where are you watching this? I'd love to hear Harry MTG's commentary. Well, Well, you can watch the original. I have a link to the original, and Harry MTG comes in. I think he's actually commenting on this match specifically.
Yeah, it says down here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're hearing my commentary. That's my channel. We heard their commentary. They put 2 Crashing Footfalls out there. That's insane.
You'll also notice he's wearing the yellow wrist ribbon. No handshakes allowed.
No, no. It's elbow bumps. They gave you 3. There were 3 ribbons. One was green. You were okay with the high fives. All touchies, okay. The yellow one was like elbow bumps or like fist bumps. So sort of be sensitive. And then there's red, which was like, hey, don't touch me. Stay 10 feet away. I saw no one wearing the red.
Yeah, I never saw.
It was like 95% green, 5% orange. Yellow. I think if you were in the red zone, you just wouldn't be there. I think that's the deal. I mean, honestly.
Just go in a bubble.
It's like, I mean, no disrespect to them, but like, yeah, I don't think they would have been comfortable going to the convention. Okay, so I'm playing Hex Catcher at instant speed. Oh, and they just killed it off. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, look at that. I drew a Chalice of the Void. Well, that helps. And that's why we got Chalice of the Void. You know, I wonder, would Flusterstorm work in this situation? Probably not. They'd probably be able to pay for each Crashing Footfall going on the stack. Nikachu plays with his deck sideways to trick his opponents into thinking his deck is tapped out, only to surprise them with the fact that the library cannot actually be tapped. Wait, is this unusual to have the deck sideways? Am I like the only person doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think... I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be super ultra conscious from other people. So the Chalice of the Void is on the battlefield, ready to take down those Crashing Footfalls. And I even have protection from Petty Theft because I have Hex Catcher in my hand. Which is great. I also do it, but on the top right of my field. Alright, well, yeah, some people like to put the deck on the left, some people put the deck on the right. Look, Trevor Jest is also a sideways deck guy. Look, see, it's normal. It's perfectly normal. Okay, at end of turn, I played Trickster to put more pressure in play. And now I'm just going to keep passing the turn to my opponent. Because they're going to lose both these Crashing Footfalls, and I've got all the interaction in my hand. And I can play around a Fury. If the Fury goes like 2 damage on Curse Catcher and 2 damage Curse Catcher, 2 damage Trickster, I can play Hex Catcher at instant speed and protect them. So I've got my plan for a Fury if it ever comes up.
Oh.
I don't remember why I do this though. Maybe I'm going for the Jugular? Because I have a bunch of Lords in my hand. And I might be planning... Oh, I only have 1 Lord in my hand. Why am I doing this? Because I don't really need to play any more creatures. What is the point? I really don't need to commit anything. Whatever. I did it. It doesn't seem necessary to me. Oh, maybe life totals are wrong. Maybe my opponent's life is way lower than I think it is. But I don't know. Because we were like a little clunky with the life total thing. Spirit Squad says, I play mine sideways. That's just because my graveyard goes vertically, so I want the deck to be horizontal and it won't get accidentally touch one with while going for the other. Sounds like a good idea. Okay, so I sacked my 2 other creatures, keep the Hex Catcher. I drew a Force Negation, but I don't think it's worth it. I play Lord and attack for 6. Let's see where are the life totals? Are they gonna go to 8? Because I'm in a really vulnerable situation. Why'd I play this Hex Catcher? I'm telling you all, play patient, play patient, play patient. Then I just blew my Hex Catcher away. And my opponent still has a fistful of cards. Unless I was trying to overload removal, but I don't think it was even a good spot to do that either. See, even when I'm looking back on my games, I can play poorly. I was playing so patient, turns out I could have played even more patient than I'm acting.
He's got one of those ley lines in his hand. Why doesn't he suck up the Chalice?
Oh, maybe my opponent's like, no, yeah, they went from 14 to 8. Okay, no, that's how it is. Here comes the illegal fetch. Nope. This one. Oh, maybe this isn't illegal fetch. Is this the Misty Rainforest into the Sacred Foundry? Yeah, it is. Here's one illegal fetch. So I guess that's like something I gotta do. I have to pay attention to all my opponents' fetches and triumphs and shocklands they go get. Because this happened to be twice in this tournament. It's not that big of a deal, but whatever. Scion Draco, I wasn't expecting this. See you later, Morgan.
Who noticed the illegal fetch first?
Millions of people. And now I have a Master of the Pearl Trident, and then I believe I just attack. And remember, I just attack with those two creatures. This is very important, because then like they did Leyline Binding one of my lords, and then the other two still get through for 5 damage. And we do it! We beat Rhinos despite all the removal in 2 games. We came out on top. What a showing for the Merfolk deck. We're gonna see the second match that was streamed live at MTG Magic 30 in Las Vegas, because you were gonna see my journey all the way to the top 8 of this wonderful once-in-a-lifetime event. Now, round 2, I'm up against Omri G, who is playing Dredge, and we have to talk a little something about my deck. My deck has, hold on. Gotta move things around. Let's talk about what my plan was for graveyard decks. This was the list I played at Magic 30. So let's look at my sideboard. Is this graveyard hate? No. Is this graveyard hate? No. Is this graveyard hate? No. Well, what about this? No. And not this. I have no graveyard hate in my sideboard. And the reason I don't have any graveyard hate in my sideboard is I thought that every matchup, where it be Murktide or Scam or Living End, I didn't need it. I'll win without it. Like, I seriously don't need, I don't need it at all. It's not that important. I can live without the graveyard hate, and I want more room for powerful cards like Chalice of the Void. Every single time I brought them in, it's like I felt weird about it, especially since every deck could play around the graveyard hate. Like, you bring in Relic or something, and your opponent will have like Petty Theft or Boseiju or, you know, some sort of answer, Force of Vigor or something. So I never really wanted to bring in graveyard hate, so I decided not to have it at all. Now, one matchup I could use it for is Dredge. Dredge is so powerful, there is no way in hell I'm going to beat it without it. So what is my plan this tournament? And I did, in preparation for Magic 30, I did play against Dredge. It was in the leagues. I knew it was coming. So what was my preparation? I'm just going to lose. That's my plan. And by the way, I'm not going to lose 100% of the time, but I will just have a terrible, bad matchup. I knew that going in. If I play against Dredge and I lose, you can afford to lose a match when you play in a big tournament. Usually you can afford to lose 2. It's not that big of a deal. Turns out in this event, you can't afford to lose 2 matches. But if I'm going to lose a matchup, I might as well lose it to Dredge. So that was my game plan going into any Dredge match. So I believe they go Bloodstained Mire and go, and it's my turn now. So I'm on the draw versus one of the most dangerous combo decks in Magic's existence. That is just fantastic. I get to start the game off with a turn 1 Ether Vial. Zeagle says, like 5 years ago, you had a very great 1-hour video about competitive REL tournaments. Did you transition that to your gameplay channel? No, they're all gone. And actually, I wouldn't do that anymore. I wouldn't be so hardcore. Back then, I would never tell my opponent how big my creatures are, but now the tournament rules are in such a way that they encourage you to be as nice and friendly to your opponent as possible, you know, without upsetting them.
Hi, I'm gonna kick your skull in.
They started that around like 2016. Okay, my opponent plays the new Cathartic Reunion. I don't remember what it's called. But they gain 3 life, and they get to basically do the same damn thing they usually do. They discard cards, they draw 3 cards, and then wreck my life. So this is what it... So there was a little bit of discussion between... off camera about, like, what's better? Is it worse playing against Dredge and Paper? And I actually don't think so. I think it's better playing against Dredge and Paper. Because I can very clearly see what Dredge cards are going to go into my opponent's hand. And I actually should be writing all this down, but I'm pretty sure I feel defeated at this point. I know I'm just dead lost. I'm not beating this. I'll do my best! I'll do my best, but I'm pretty dead lost. and I can see exactly what triggers and what's going in the goes to the graveyard, what goes to the hand. Thrilling possibility. Thanks so much, Richie Dubs. Nikachu, why don't you run the new Lord from Dominaria United? I do run it. It's right there. It's probably in my hand right now. You should be able to see it in the deck list in the description. Did I win the tournament? I did not win the tournament.
Got close though.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I end up in 3rd/4th place. So my opponent already is on the board with 2 Narcomoebas. I do have a Hex... See, I got the Dominaria United. There it is. Right over here. Hex Catcher. Right over there. I'm playing the new stuff. Here we should have played Lord of Atlantis since they got Dark Blast. Yeah, but I can play... I'm trying to do whatever I can to prevent these things from resolving. And I do play my Hex Catcher and counter it. And I have to just hope that my opponent's 1 Dredge a turn is just going to be garbage. I'm so far behind here, it like really doesn't matter what I do. I don't know what kind of miracle needs to happen. Generally speaking, like my best chance of winning is that they
have a heart attack and die.
You can still win these matches, but it's gonna come down to the line of like my opponent mulligans to 4 and I'm on the play and I counter the 1 draw card spell that they have, and then I can put enough bodies on the battlefield to kill them. Another way to win is like I force to negate the 1 spell. Again, it really depends on them mulliganing a lot. So anyway, they put a million of these. They gained a bunch of life off of Thrilling Possibility, I guess. Not sure where the life gain, or maybe a Creeping Chill. No, a Creeping Chill hit me. Yeah, Creeping Chill resolved. I got domed for 3, and then they got back all their silver smoke ghouls from the graveyard. So I'm like sort of familiar what's going on here, like with what the common lists are. I know they're playing like 4 Dark Blast. That much I know of. They're going all in on Dark Blast, I guess, to beat Ragavan and maybe some other 1 toughness creatures. Which sucks for us because I have a lot of 1 toughness creatures, and it's like a really good so it's a pretty good relevant removal spell for Merfolk. How much money did I make? I made at least 10 grand in like product with the Arabian Nights booster, the plateau. The beta plateau, the beta lightning bolt.
We should do a bit where we dress me up as like a really homeless looking dude with a hidden camera, and I take that plateau to pawn shops to see if they'll take it.
Well, you just have to dress as yourself and go there. There's no secret there. Just have to get the camera.
See if they'd buy it off me and for what?
What, a pawn shop?
Yeah.
They would have no idea what this is. They might even reject you. They'd be like, "What is this?" And it's like, "Don't you know what this is?" You'd be like, "Don't you know?" You have no idea how many times they've probably heard some story like this. "Don't you know what this is? This is a beta plateau."
It's like, where did I get this from?
This is yeah, exactly. And they, you know, so many people show up with like, "Hey, this is a super limited edition collector's item. It's worth so much money." Yeah, F off. Get out of here. Probably the pawn shop will reject you. They have no idea what they just saw. Were there any new Merfolk and Brothers War? Not that I know of. Do I collect Pokemon cards? I do not.
Well, not anymore.
So, why am I still playing? Because I want my opponent to dredge, and I want them to show me more cards of their deck. There's like no, if there's never a reason to, like when you're lost, and you do not know exactly what's in your opponent's deck, play on. Try to learn, get some information. You know, so many decks have different variations. Crashing Footfalls has like so many different variations to it. Some run the Petty Theft, some run the Bone Crusher Giant, but some don't. Some run Fury, some don't. Actually, I think pretty much all of them run Fury now. How much of that 10 grand is going towards coffee? All of it. 100%. Better believe it. One day I'm going to trade this all for a bunch of, yeah, a bunch of instant coffee. I was in Vegas, went to 3 pawn shops. They know what MTG cards are. Yeah, but maybe our pawn shops don't.
Yeah, we're talking about our scummy downtown pawn shops.
Yeah, just random scummy downtown pawn shop. You could do that with a proxy card if you want, just to experiment. Was I the best dressed player in top 8? Oh, absolutely. I look great. Hey, it's my brother. There he is. There he is to the left. Not exactly a face reveal. This is the closest you're gonna get. Wow, look at that. You're hiding behind the life total and everything. You knew what you were doing.
I didn't know.
Okay, so we lose game 1. What do I have to bring in? I believe I bring in 4 Force and Negation. Yeah, I bring in 4 Force and Negation, 2 Harbingers, 2 Spreading Seas. I side out 4 Dismember and 4 Silver Gill Adept. I bring in some Spreading Seas because sometimes you can, like, mana screw them. Sometimes you can mana screw them.
Also, you're playing next to Mario.
Oh, yeah, here we got Mario over here. Was the face mask mandatory? Yep. Very mandatory. Everyone has to wear it. And if you're not, they'll walk by and tell you have to have it on. Okay, hold on. Let's get a little bit closer to the game. We've got shuffled up. I got a hand with Force and Negation. And Ether Vial. It's probably one of the best hands I could possibly have. Because one of the best chances I have of beating Dredge is just forcing one critical draw spell that they have. And then hopefully they do nothing. So anyway, I don't have another land, which makes my hand a little clunky. Little bit of a clunker. That's okay. We're gonna do our best. What do I have? I got Harbinger, Trickster. Actually, it's quite a nice hand because I can like bounce a Prized Amalgam back to my opponent's hand with a Harbinger if it comes to it. By the way, if you want to see the full stream, go to anzidmtg.com. I'll have links in the I'll have like a link in the description for sure. Nikachu's brother has a beautiful head, full head of colored hair. Yeah. Was hoping to see a little bit. Was hoping to see a little bit more gameplay coverage of the event, but this is great. This was good. So I'm just thinking about what I'm going to get rid of, and I decided to get rid of Trickster. Trickster is hands down the worst card versus Dredge. It's like a real garbage card. Tapping things down isn't really relevant. The flash speed isn't relevant. None of it's relevant. Alright, so I'm going to attack with my Tide Shaper for 2, so my opponent has an island. And I'll play another Tide Shaper. Go Tide Shapers. I do have a Hex Catcher. Okay, so I have a Hex Catcher in my hand, but I'm very careful not to play my Hex Catcher because I don't want it to get complete... I don't want it to get blown... First off, I don't want my opponent to know that I have it, but second, I also don't want to get blown out by a Dark Blast. Okay, so Narcomoeba, very underwhelming draw. And I believe I have no choice. Actually, I don't know what to do here. Maybe I play Harbinger. Yeah, I play Harbinger. I'm not going to commit my Hex Catcher just yet. Just put a bunch of 2/2s on the battlefield. I drew an island. So I don't really have anything to do but attack. And we are in really good shape. My opponent's Dredge was trash.
Anzid specifically wanted people to use those dice because they show up well on camera.
Yeah. I have better dice.
People are even coming up to you throughout the event. Where do I get those dice?
Oh yeah, my dice are great. Could you find bigger dice? Not sure we can. Those were pretty big, chunky dice. Like, those weren't small. When you're playing with those, like, most people have those tiny, dinky little things. So my opponent played a Dark Blast on one creature, and now I think it's time. Okay, so I'm in a weird position, because I could play Hex Catcher to keep my little guy alive. But if I do that, then they're going to dredge back the Dark Blast into their hand and then kill my Hex Catcher. But I decide to play the Hex Catcher because having more creatures on the battlefield is more important. I think it's just strictly more important. I think are we still in combat? Maybe not. I believe we're still in combat, but I did some calculation. If they want to dredge and then replay the Dark Blast, then they'll be pretty damn far behind. If that's how they want to play. Okay, they did at end of turn. So I get to keep everything, and so if they kill my Hex Catcher, at least I have 6 damage getting served next turn, because they put the Dark Blast in their hand from the Dredge. Here's the Dark Blast right here, which I expected, but I do have the 6 damage on the board. There's another thing. Like, my opponent's only black source is this land, and it puts them down to 9, and so they're perpetually vulnerable to a Lord. If I top deck Lord here, they're dead. If they tick 6, go down to 3, then they're like super dead to a Lord. So anyway, so I take up Vial to 3 because if I draw Svelun or Subtlety, then I'll be a little bit closer to getting it online. And the only way I get punished for putting it on 3 is if I draw specifically Silver Gill Adept, which wasn't good in that situation anyway. Totally unrelated, but the background music is so cool. Is it from some NES game? Yes, Earthbound. See, some people asked me to turn it off. Some people asked me to keep it on. In my opinion, I'm going to keep it on because I like this music. It gives us atmosphere. Winning even a single game versus Dredge is impossible. Well, I just did it. All right, so we won a game. Here's my brother again in the background. I changed nothing. Oh, another thing. I sided out Silvergill Adept, so I can't draw Silvergill Adept. I'm pretty sure. I sided out Silvergill Adept in this matchup, so taking the Vial up to 3 is just mandatory in that situation. All right, so let's look at this final game. And again, my plan is hope I draw like Force Negation and also hope that my opponent mulligans to nothing. I have a 2 Vial hand with no cards in it, so I mulligan. Ideally, I keep a 7 card hand, my opponent mulligans, but you know, the Dredge player is gonna do their thing. Same jacket as your brother? Nope. I have a suit jacket on. My brother's just has some random jacket. Between the riff-raff downtown and my brother, you can't tell the difference. Nika Bro is handsome as well.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, we all know where this is going. You lose.
Yeah. We gotta see it. Gotta see it play out. But you know, the moral of the story of this entire match is it's okay to lose. It's okay. It's okay to lose.
This guy didn't make top 8.
It's like I knew that if I'm not gonna play any Graveyard Hate in my deck, that I'll get crushed by Dredge. But that was a risk I'm willing to take, and it happened, and I still was successful that tournament. So you can't be dwelling like, oh, what if this one matchup? Well, screw the one matchup. If you play against that one matchup, so be it. Now, it would be very different if Dredge was hyper popular and it was like the #1 deck on the block. Like, I can't dodge it. And I'm assuming, well, I mean, maybe even then under that circumstance, if it's the #1 deck, you could depend on everyone else bringing in Graveyard Hate and then hating on Dredge out of the metagame, and you never face it throughout the tournament. What is Merfolk's worst matchup right now? Probably Hammer Time. Probably Hammer Time. I don't really like that matchup at all. Or what else? Is it Prowess is pretty terrible too. I have no chance versus that either. Alright, my opponent plays that new something. What the hell is that card? Ugh, 1080p, I still can't read that card. I don't know, it's this new blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them all in the graveyard if you want.
That's pretty. Hey, that's a blue Faithless Looting.
Was there a specific reason for not putting Graveyard Hate in your sideboard? Because I didn't need it for any other matchup. That's the reason. And if I don't need it for any other matchup, why do I want to clog my sideboard for 2 or 3 cards for this one deck? Why would I want to do that? Because every other matchup, whether it be Murktide or Scam or Living End, I'm like, I don't need this. It just, I would have so much trouble. Like, what do I side out for? I don't care. Like, I can play my game without these cards. Like, it wasn't mandatory at all. It was always like a so-so card being put in. It wasn't even that good. Like, a Graveyard Hate would only be really good here. This is the matchup where Graveyard Hate would have made a big difference. So I'm like, screw it. I'm taking the cards out of my sideboard. I'm gonna fill it up with like cards I think matter more. Otherworldly Gaze, that's the card. I don't like playing against some 4-color variants and footfalls personally. Well, you gotta learn. You learn from this. Learn from these videos. Will a 20-card sideboard break Modern?
No.
Probably not, but probably we don't need it.
We need 50-card sideboard.
Even with Yard Hate, this matchup can feel rough. It can, but like it does shore it up a big time. So like either like I draw like 1 of 4 pieces of Graveyard Hate or like Force Negation, and it makes a big difference. It would make a big difference. Anyway, my opponent just absolutely obliterated. You just look at all these cards. Look at all the cards over here. They're just blowing me away.
Look at all the cards that aren't here.
Yeah, look at all the cards that aren't here. Probably should just concede. I'm at 14. They're at 23. Oh, but it's technically not over. Oh, I do make one mistake in this match though, and I realized that, and I fixed my sideboard guide. I should bring in my subtleties. I kept 2 subtleties in, but I didn't bring any more in. And I should bring subtlety in, because subtlety is good versus Ox of Igonus. Right over here. It's a very good card. So we see the situation where my opponent made like a huge dredge, but they don't actually have anything going here. Like, they depend on this Ox, and if I subtlety it a few times, actually this game might just go back in my favor. If they tempo themselves out playing this Ox over and over again.
If I get my time machine working, we'll go back.
Yeah, we gotta go back. In all your matches, which deck you felt was the most difficult to play against? Well, this one. Look, it's whooping me. Force Negation is greater than Graveyard Hate. Well, Force Negation is relatively effective. It's like it slows them down it slows them down enough. I would, you know what, I'm gonna say it's not better than Graveyard Hate, but it's good interaction. It's very good interaction. We need a 16 card sideboard. Oh yeah, so that we can have nice clean 4-ofs. How do you like Harbinger in the sideboard? Wouldn't Relic be better? No, because I brought Harbinger in for Murktide and Hammer Time and some other random matchups. So, I mean, this is the point. You guys are like, you're getting destroyed by Dredge. Shouldn't you have sideboard cards? I'm going to lose the match and I don't care. You can still win tournaments after losing a match. Like, that was my plan going into this tournament. If I am up against Dredge, I'm going to die. And by the way, I'm not going to lose 100% of the time. I'm going to steal matches like 25% of the time. 25% of the time, I'll still beat them. Like, I took away game 2, and then if they mulligan far enough in game 3, if they got unlucky, I could steal game 3 and then take the match. I am the underdog, though. Make no mistake, I am the underdog. I want you guys to know, though, if there's this one deck that you have problems with, and mind you, also, maybe I'm skilled enough to win the other graveyard matches without Graveyard Hate, and if you desperately need the Graveyard Hate, by all means, put it in your sideboard. But I was in a situation where I was pretty confident that I could beat all the other graveyard decks without Graveyard Hate. But I know I couldn't beat this one, so I'm just going to fold to it. I just arrived. You didn't get any Mistcaller? Nope, didn't want Mistcaller in the deck.
Biggest mistake.
I just see you chilling with your 2 islands, your opponent throwing his whole deck into the graveyard. Yeah, that's how it is sometimes. That's magic. And then I'm like, okay, I'm dead. I'm dead. All right, you got it. Congratulations. They're gonna come up.
At this point, I'm thinking, all right, let's just get on a plane, go home.
Oh, wait, oh yeah, you thought it was over? Yeah. That's so little confidence in me. This guy eating,
Having a sandwich.
taking a bite. We are here to see round, I don't know what round this is, round 4 of Magic 30 in Las Vegas. I'm playing Modern Merfolk, and we are here to give you a masterclass. I'm up against my opponent, Shaden Rain, and they're playing Crashing Footfalls. Now, we saw how I played the Crashing Footfalls matchup the first time. I would try to be as patient as possible, try to keep one creature in play, attack, attack, attack. That's the deal. Force them to remove it, because if you put 2 creatures in play, especially at sorcery speed, and they fury them away, I mean, you're a goner. So whenever you put 2 or more creatures in play, you always wonder, can I beat a fury? And if I can't, do I have a good follow-up? I think it's fine to actually put several creatures in play, but you need to have a good plan for fury, because that card can completely wipe you out. 3 rounds on a row on stream. The camera oh, I love the camera. The camera loves me, and I love the camera. That's the whole point.
They should put a fisheye lens on your side.
That'd be so weird. So we're up against Crashing Footfalls again. And we are up, I will say we are up against an opponent that has definitely not played against Merfolk before. But to be fair, I played against a lot of sharp opponents that screwed up versus Merfolk. All right, here comes the Misty Rainforest. Nikachu got stream sniped. It's hard for that to happen. It's very difficult to do that in Paper Magic. Got themselves a Ketria Triome. Good old shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. So at this point, I'm pretty confident versus Crashing Footfalls. I have a lot of experience versus the deck. It's still can be a tough matchup, but I still think I like my plan now. All of us, once I discovered the plan of being patient and to side out a lot of 1 toughness creatures, and try to delay what I play later than like turn 2, then I found that it improved my matchup significantly. If I'm not mistaken, see, I don't do anything here. I don't remember what was the point of that. I probably could have played a Lord. Oh, maybe the problem is if I play a Lord and I get stomped, I'll be super sad. So if I play Hexcatcher at end of turn, that is just better and more beneficial, because then I can counter the stomp. And also, they're not working with perfect information. And I do need to get Hexcatcher on the board at some point, so that point might as well be now. Now, here's an interesting point. I've got a lot of Lords in hand. I got a lot of stuff. Oh, and they tap my land at the beginning of my upkeep. And I believe I'm just... Well, I don't really have anything to do with this mana, so I play my other Hexcatcher. And I can play around Fury pretty well, because I'm going to tick the Vial up. And I do have a Master of the Pearl Trident in my hand. Here I don't remember what I do. I don't think I put Master of the Pearl Trident in play, but maybe I will. Just because I have such good protection versus Fury if I do anyway. But I don't really have protection versus Fury and a removal spell at the same time. Oh, Monster CC, you were here. I know. I shook your hand and everything. Sandy says, any advice on how to improve as a Merfolk player? I see really difficult to know which hands are good or bad to start with. I mean, if you have lands and spells, you should just generally keep it. And then against combo decks, you ideally are going to try to mulligan for some sort of interaction. If you have a hand of just creatures and lands, that's usually not good enough. Okay, here's where I'm very happy for playing against my opponent. Or, no, I'm actually not that happy. So, they play the Fire and Ice, firing my Master of the Pearl Trident, and the only thing going through my mind is like, alright, it looks like they're going to Fury afterwards, but then the Fury isn't really that bad, because if they put 2 damage on Master of the Pearl Trident, they can still only kill, like, Hexcatcher. So I decide to just let it resolve. But I do think really long, like, what are the possibilities of letting this resolve versus, like, maybe countering it? And I just didn't see a single benefit to countering it, so, okay, we let it resolve. And now they realize, oh, it's getting pumped up by the other creatures. Well, that is great! My opponent just blunders.
No takesies backsies.
Yeah, no takesies backsies. That was their turn. I guess they had nothing better to do. But, anyway, that's convenient to win this game like this. Not sure what else they had options for. I guess they could have tried to ice something? This portion of the stream is sponsored by Pepsi. Is there a Pepsi around here? Or you have a Pepsi in your hand?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, my brother in the background here. With that Pepsi.
I was very dehydrated throughout this whole experience.
How hard was it to be standing up the entire time watching these games?
I need constant fluid intake.
Yeah, he's like standing for like
and a can of Pepsi is
10 hours.
$3.50.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
They gouge you.
I play a Tide Shaper hitting the Ketra Triumph, shut off any red. So Violent Outburst if that was the mana that they needed. And they're just ultimately screwed. Like at this point I'm like, okay, there's no way I can lose this. My opponent can do whatever they want. I don't care. Play 2 Furies. Go for it. Be my guest.
Be my guest.
Yeah, opponent took emotional damage. Is that your stone for Tide Shaper? No, it's actually theirs. Dustin Barnes with a huge super chat. Sorry to sidetrack, but being someone with experience playing live tournament Magic, how do you feel about players being able to interact with their deck, shuffle, search, given that most cheats in Magic are deck manipulation? I think it's totally fine. I mean, the thing is, you just be aware yourself what to be looking for. Like if my opponent is staring at their deck while shuffling it, I will extra shuffle it a lot. If they don't, ideally my opponent's looking away and they're shuffling, and then I'm totally cool with that. Then I could just cut their deck or whatever. So just be aware that people do cheat, or people I don't want to say accidentally cheat, but just be aware, like protect yourself. And you can protect yourself by shuffling your opponent's deck. That's all it is. You shuffle your opponent's deck, you cut it. If you think it's sketchy how they're shuffling you know what I find weird? people will look at their deck while shuffling. I guess maybe because they assume you're going to shuffle it. There's a lot of people like this. They'll look at their deck while shuffling, but then when they pick up your deck, they'll look away. Like, why should the practice be any different? So they're like staring directly at their deck while they're shuffling it, and then of course I have to shuffle it a million times after that. Anyway, yeah, kind of unavoidable to manipulate the deck. I mean, if people try it, I mean, you just try to protect yourself. That's all. Just keep an eye on everyone. Did you have any weird or complicated judge call? Yeah, actually in this game. It wasn't that complicated, but we do have a judge call. Okay, so what do I do? Same thing as last time. I believe I brought in... I took out Tide Shaper and left Silver Gillidup, but I think I actually should side out Silver Gillidup, bring in Tide Shaper. And I took out Dismember, and I brought in 4 Force of Negation. I believe I brought in 2 Subtlety. Oh, but no, I definitely brought in the Chalice of the Voids.
Uh-oh.
What?
I'm not gonna... Oh!
Oh!
I was worried about that.
Oh! What are we doing here?
Well, it's too late
Yeah,
now.
it's a little, yeah. Oh, wait. What are you doing? Let me get back to the, don't worry. That's a lot of, I can work some magic. Whoever's live in chat stays in chat. Alright, hold on, where is...
It's done.
Right monitor. It's done. What a waste. Supposed to save that for the 1 million subscriber.
I didn't realize that the guy was even recording me.
Funny stuff.
Oh well.
It's funny, like, your face has been revealed before. It's just like people haven't remembered what your face looked like for like 7 years ago. Would this be logistically difficult, but how about a judge is the only one who touches the decks during games? No, that'd be logistically impossible. People are shuffling their decks constantly. They just can't be like, Judge, shuffle deck, Judge, shuffle deck, Judge, shuffle deck. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It is not a burden to the game to get people to so that the players shuffle the decks. All right, let's go. Our opponent is on the play. I have a hand with, I think it's Island, Mutavault, Vial. But I think I have a Hex Catcher, so it's more than enough to keep. And I think I have 2 Tricksters, which sort of sucks. And I pick up a Cavern of Souls, which is okay by me. Bruce says ban fetches in Modern, and there won't be so much shuffling. That's true, but I like the fetch lands.
Yeah, you like your opponents taking 12 life points off their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's very helpful.
Benefits the Merfolk player.
That's right.
And I don't fetch, so I don't care. It's funny, all this stuff about fetch lands, and Nikachu over here is like, I don't care. Who needs fetch lands? He actually did the face reveal solely to promote Pepsi. What a guy.
It's not even my favorite. They just didn't have Coca-Cola.
Actually, that's true. I'm a Coca-Cola person myself. Merfolk is mono blue? My version is. Okay, they got the Catcher of Triumph. You see, I'm shuffling my opponent's deck. I think one sleeve was broken, but I couldn't see it. But like, look how, like, you know, like it was like a little bit janky to shuffle my opponent's deck. I think one sleeve was splitting, but I couldn't see it in the deck, so like, well, whatever. That is that is a problem for some future player in the tournament. All right, they're untapping. They're gonna look at a card. And now they're gonna play, oh, Petty Theft on my Ether Vial. Oh no! Yep. Okay, so this is a very interesting situation we've been put in, because I want to deploy my Ether Vial, but at the same time I have a Hex Catcher, and I really want to do something about Crashing Footfalls if it gets played. So what I ended up doing is I say, screw the Vial. I'm gonna keep up Hex Catcher. I'm not sure, but maybe I should have played it at upkeep. And then whatever they do, because they're gonna pass the turn here. I can't remember if they passed the turn. Okay, so here's the big fiendish thing. Our opponent plays Scalding Tarn, and they cracked it. And they got a forest. Now what ended up being the case is that they have Misty Rainforest in their hand, and they just accidentally played the wrong land. And actually, from my perspective, I don't even know if this is a forest. I just thought it was like an island or something. Maybe I should. Look at these dark lands. They all look They look they have very similar. It's those midnight haunt lands. They all look similar. My opponent plays Blood Moon, and because my hand is like 2 Mutavaults in my hand, because I have two Mutavaults, I have this Cavern of Souls. I don't want these locked down by Blood Moon. It'd make my game so much more complicated and more difficult. So I decide to play Hexcatcher to counter the Blood Moon. It's just I thought it would be just too much work. Between Force Negation, Cavern, Chalice, Subtlety, Otawara, thinks it's more important to have, if you have it at the moment, being able to buy only 1 or 2 cards. Oh, if you could only buy one thing, probably Force Negation. Probably that's the most highest impact card you could buy.
Squeenabob.
Nardoto, haven't you been playing Merfolk for Eternity? Why don't you own these cards yet? Alright, so so Twitch chat noticed that the Scalding Tarn found us a forest, which is illegal. So now we go to the judge. We call a judge over. I didn't discover this. Twitch chat discovered this. And so now, okay, so what ended up happening is my opponent was said, like, oh, yeah, I fetched out the wrong land. But I know from a tournament perspective, we actually have to tell the judge the whole thing. They played the fetch land, they cracked it, got a forest, played Blood Moon, I played Hexcatcher, countered the Blood Moon, they passed the turn, and now we're at my upkeep. So given the fact that the game moved that far, the judge said we're just going to keep the game as it is. And we'll both get a penalty because technically my opponent shouldn't have done this, and also I should have caught it. So we both get a penalty for this. And by the way, these penalties are almost meaningless. You can rack up like 100, well, I don't want to say you can rack up 100 penalties in a tournament, but you can get a lot of game rule violations, and so long as they're not the same game rule violation. Actually, now I can't remember what the rule is. I think on day 2 of these events, you don't want to get too many game rule violations because they start to get elevated to game losses. A lot of people in chat were convinced the judge was wrong. No, the judge was right. Like, you can't go back. Because it might change. You know what I should have proposed? Because my opponent shows the Misty Rainforest. So they made an honest mistake. And I don't even care, really. Because they had a Misty Rainforest. It doesn't really change anything. The game would have... If the game played out the way they wanted it to, this should be the board state. So I really don't care. What I wanted to say about this? Oh, yeah, like, because too much information was shown, they can't repair the game. But I'm wondering if I asked the judge if they could swap the Misty Rainforest in hand with Scalding Tarn, if that would have been acceptable. That would have been totally fine with me. Because the deal is so much information was revealed. How do we know that the opponent is, like, what land? They're probably going to choose a land from their deck based on what they've seen so far this game. They saw the Hexcatcher. They know that their Blood Moon is going to get countered, so maybe they'll get a basic island instead of getting... Well, I mean, ideally, they probably have to get a basic... Oh, they might have got a mountain or something. I don't know. How you notice Twitch chat caught the fault? Because the person, Anu, who is streaming all this, and sort of the operator, they're the one. He's the guy who said, you know, stop the game. There was Twitch chat caught something, and then I put up my hand to go get it, to call a judge. If you are watching a game and notice a mistake, is it right to grab a judge or make a comment? So what you can do, the proper etiquette is at competitive REL, you tell the opponent stop the game, let's call a judge, and then you tell the judge what happened. You actually can't, you're not supposed to tell the players. Like, probably you should be allowed to. I don't know what the rules are now, but like the last I knew, you stop the game, call a judge, judge comes over, you explain to the judge what happened, and then they repair the game. Now at professional REL, which is day 2 of Grand Prix and Pro Tours, you actually cannot stop the game for any reason. You have to call a judge, you have to go find a judge and get them to the game really quickly. And then hopefully they can do something about it. But you're actually not allowed to stop the game at a professional REL level, which is like day 2 of GPs. Zeagle says, this must be a psychological advantage if you fetch the wrong land and get a warning for it. I probably would be very embarrassed and it might impact gameplay. It might. Alright, so our opponent plays 2 Crashing Footfalls on the battlefield. What's going on here? Okay, I find a Chalice of the Void. Back to the game. I have a Silvergill Adept, and they have 2 Rhinos. But they, you know, it's It's okay. I have like Trickster. I also have an Otawara in my hand, so I can sort of deal with the rhinos for a little while. But I do need a little bit of help because I don't have any lords, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a handful of interaction, and ideally we have at least one lord to push through damage, especially versus crashing footfalls. But we have tons of creatures. Look at it. We got 2 Mutavaults, 2 Tricksters, and a Silver Gill Adept on the board. I just passed the turn because I can't attack through the damn thing. I don't buy these cards because my daughter. It was all for diapers. Oh, you haven't been. So you've just been living, Nardodo. You've been living Merfolk through me. Can we get chat on here? Hold on. I can't figure out how to get chat on here, and it might be messy on the camera anyway.
And you have to press plus on sources and then bring in the chat source.
Where did the expensive Ether Vial go? I defoiled when COVID happened. I defoiled my deck, or I shouldn't say defoiled. I bought into just the regular paper cards because at the time, like, there was a few problems. First off, I didn't really like the foil Force of Negation art, or I didn't like the art on Force of Negation. I didn't really want to spend so much money to get the foil, and also like I wasn't playing paper Magic. COVID happened. There's like no local game stores that are operating Magic tournaments. So I didn't know when it was the next time I could play with my paper cards or my foil cards. So I slowly invested in just regular paper cards. But I'm on my way to re-foil out the deck now, especially since a new, in my opinion, much nicer Force of Negation got printed. Alright, so I do a fake block with Crushing Footfalls to try to get a reaction from my opponent. They do nothing, and then I just Otawara the thing back to their hand, which makes it go poof, and I go down to 16. I have Chalice on the board, so I don't have to worry about any future Cascade spells. I'm really just going to try to aggro out my opponent here. They have only 1 red source, so they only need 1 more red source to get Fury on board. But that's sort of far away. I get a Cavern of Souls, which is not really mandatory. I don't remember what the other card in my hand is. Is it Silver Gill Adept? Is it? What is it? I can't remember what I revealed. Okay, I activate my Mutavaults, and I think I'm just gonna attack. Because I don't really have any incentive right now to commit anything to the battlefield. Why do players flick their cards? Because it's fun. It helps cope with the stress. And also, you do have to do it just in case they know, if they catch some pattern of you like putting all the lands on one side, creatures to the other. It's good to shuffle them here and there. I do have at least a Trickster, but I don't know the other card. I think it is a Trickster. I think I have 2 Tricksters in my hand. So I'll be Trickstering this Rhino every turn. And this damn Petty Theft from the Brazen Bar, and there is nothing I can do about this. So they're setting themselves up to put even more Rhinos on the battlefield. I think their life total didn't change, though. I think they're at 13, because I attacked with a Mutavault and a Silver Gill Adept. So they're actually at 13, so that a way lower life total than it's being shown. They are in striking distance of dying to a an Island Walk Lord, if I can draw it. Monster CC says, your pace of play is top-notch. People don't give Merfolk enough credit for how well you have to play. Yeah, I consider all my options. I mean, just like any other deck. I mean, if you're just gonna, like... the whole point is it's a strategy game, right? Magic the Gathering is a strategy game. We've got to use strategy. It's a thinking person's game. If you're just gonna spew out your hand like a, a novice burn player, well, then you're gonna get novice results. So they attack for 4. I go down to 12. Which is not that... My opponent's life total still hasn't changed. I know that they're at 13. It is sort of hard to remember to adjust the life totals. Because remember, we have to write down our own life totals, and then we have to adjust the life totals for the stream. Yeah, Magic the Strataging. Nardoto says, yes, man, I play in my local store without these cards. Love to see this in a real-life game. Alright, so I'm going to take my turn. We're going to play Chalice again. Got an Ether Vial off the top. It is absolute supreme trash. Yeah, play my Chalice. Very angrily. With authority. I can do nothing here.
The chalice should be able to block 0 mana creatures.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Should be able to block creatures with toughness equal to the counters on it.
Cherry Knot says, this gets too complicated. And I like it. Likes a little complication. So I play another Ether Vial, even though it's pretty useless. I don't think this game could go on to too long. Because either I top deck a Lord and I win, or they're going to win in a few turns. And I will do my best to just soak up as much damage as possible without dying. Because I am in position of killing my opponent with Island Walk. They're at 13. It's just not being recognized in the what's it called? The life totals. They take another life. Okay, yeah, so now they were at 13, now they went down to 12 because they just used Fiery Islet. Now almost any Lord can win. Oh, here comes a Fury! But I only got 1 creature out, so I still don't die to this Fury. Still don't die to Fury. Alright, now they want to attack, but I'm like, nope, we're not gonna do that. Trickster at least 1 thing. Yeah, I'll Trickster 1. I think I'll Trickster... I probably could have let that through. Probably could have tapped down the Fury. I guess it doesn't matter. Maybe it does matter. Maybe I should have tapped down... You know what? This isn't that big of a deal, but if I tap down Fury and they still want to attack with Shardless Agent and the Rhino, then all I have to do is top deck a Hex Catcher and I could win, because I have 12 power on board. So they would have to, hold something back to at least chump block.
Total.
So now I'm like, come on, Lord of Atlantis! Lord of Atlantis! I need a clip of the commentators losing their crap when you win through a Fury. I know, I've played against Fury a million times. I believe I top deck Force and Negation, completely useless. So I don't want to resign immediately. Again, play it out, see if your opponent... if we are really short on time, if there's very little time left in the match, resign. Just, save some time. But we have time. There's a lot of time. We've been playing at a good pace. So force your opponent to win. Maybe they won't attack for some reason. Maybe they'll play a little bit more patiently. Or at the very least, they can show me something I didn't know before. Maybe they'll... I don't know. They'll do something. They'll show me their sideboard card. A crazy sideboard card. Boseiju. Yeah, not unexpected. Spellslinger, more like Handslinger. Got him. Alright, and then I'm going to wait for my opponent to attack, and I'm going to humbly resign. Humbly. Very humbly. Alright, scoop it up. And there's no way I can block everything. I have 4 toughness of blockers. I can block 2 rhinos. Sorry, I have 8 toughness and blockers, but I can block 2 rhinos and that's it. Or I could chump block, I guess, the Fury. Anyway, it's impossible. Me dead. And then we go on to game 3. Alright, start off with an island. I mulliganed. I'm mulliganing versus these Rhino decks and still winning. And I've got a Cavernous Souls in my hand. Sorry, not Cavernous Souls. I do have Cavernous Souls in my hand, but I have Chalice of the Void. I don't know what's best. You could play Chalice on turn 0, but it's usually not that big of a deal. By delaying Chalice, maybe I got my opponent to play Crashing Footfalls. The deal is you'd want to play Chalice early so that they don't hit it with Force Negation, because they could most certainly have that in their deck. I would say against Living End, I will not delay playing Chalice, because they can both have Force Negation, but also grief you. So you do not want to wait a single turn on your Chalice. You just slam Chalice on the battlefield. But they don't have grief. They don't have grief. So you don't have to worry about grief. Is Nika Bro secretly good? Nope. No, he's terrible.
Well, compared to you.
Oh yeah, okay. Compared to other noobs, you can crush them?
Yeah, sure. whooped him in the open play area all the time.
Yeah, the open. You can go find my brother in the open play area on Magic: The Gathering Online. All right, we start this party off with a Master of the Pearl Trident. That's how we're starting this party. Why'd I do that? Oh, do I have a Lord? Like, there's some reason I do this. I don't remember. Oh, I have Svelun in my hand. Okay, I think my plan is turn 2, Master of the Pearl Trident, and then at the end of their turn, play Hexcatcher, and then while the creatures are sort of protecting each other, when I have a third land drop, I play Svelun and everything's protected. Silver Gilladept is, Alright, so I force my opponent to use an entire fire on this Master of the Pearl Trident. Oh, that's another thing. If I play... That's actually another thing. Okay, if I played Silver Gilladept first, then I would have to, at sorcery speed, play Master of the Pearl Trident and get blown out by a Fury. Whereas, I think it is... Otherwise, if I played Hexcatcher, then I would get fired on both of them. So I needed to set up a situation where Master of the Pearl Trident and Hexcatcher are in play, instead of Master of the Pearl Trident and... So anyway, I thought Hexcatcher, Master of the Pearl Trident, was the best 2 creatures to have in play, and I thought Silver Gilladept, Master of the Pearl Trident wasn't good, and Silver Gilladept and Hexcatcher wasn't good. So anyway, I don't have anything else to do. Now I play the Silver Gilladept and hope I draw a land so I can put my Svelun in play. Oh, that's hard. 100k sub celebration, Nika Bro versus subs. Oh god.
I'll take you all on one-on-one.
The narrator couldn't understand how a Merfolk deck got this far in the tournament, basically saying it was a deck full of 2-drops. Yeah, it's true. It is a deck full of 2-drops.
No free wins in this tournament.
No, I played against all really good decks. Never ever underestimate the power of Murphy, especially in the hands of Nikachu. I don't know what that means.
Merfolk.
What happened here? My opponent played... Oh, did they upkeep try to kill my Silver Gilladept? Like one... I don't remember what happened here. I think they fired my Silver Gilladept and shot me in the face. Oh, but did I go down in life total? What happened there? Ugh. I don't know how to go back. All I know is that a fire was played, my Silver Gilladept did not die, and I have a Hexcatcher in play now. Oh, did they ice? Oh, they iced my land again. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. They did that last time too. Unfortunately, I can play a Hexcatcher. That's not a very... I don't think that's a... Oh, they're stuck on lands. That's why they did this. Otherwise, fire is probably a better use of their card. Maybe fire still is a better use of their card. Because every turn that I have to spend to redeploy another Merfolk is another turn where they get to draw a card anyway. So I don't know if they needed to immediately draw the card. They do have a Magus of the Moon in their hand, though. Oh, they're going to get greedy. Alright, here's Fury. Which I'm okay with. Svelun is a great card to follow up versus a Fury. Yeah, they're going to be like 1... So I guess 2 damage on both of them.
1, 2, buckle my shoe.
It has been 5 years since the last played Modern. It's been 5 years since I top 8'd a Paper Modern tournament that got coverage. My favorite part of this was top 8ing with Merfolk when it was getting streamed. Alright, so our opponent plays Magus of the Moon. What was my plan?
Island.
What was my plan versus moons and stuff like that? 10 islands. I did not go down, and the reason I did not go down 10 islands in my deck, a lot of other Merfolk players do, is so that I can play around Blood Moon effects. So anyway, I can still do stuff. I drew a Hexcatcher. I do have a bunch of double blue cards in my hand. I think I have a Trickster, a Lord, and a Svelun. Fortunately, I can play my Hexcatcher here, so I'm not stone dead. Why didn't you sacrifice the Hexcatcher to make him use a mana? Because Hexcatcher can't target creatures. This is not a Blood Moon. This is a Magus of the Moon. It's a 2/2 creature. Alright, so I'm getting in there. I'm attacking for 1. We're racing. I got the 12 turn clock, they got the 9 turn clock. They're ahead, technically. This Mega screwed them over so much more than us. Well, yeah. Yeah, they have no blue mana at the moment. Nothing. They just have red and green. Alright. They are technically ahead, but I am favored. I'm favored because of all the islands that... Boom! Island! If you are an 8 land deck, maybe you would lose this. Sorry, an 8 island deck, you might lose this from here. Or 7 island deck. So anyway, I am now just figuring out what do I want to do. And I decided to play completely at instant speed. I have 2 Tricksters in my hand. I'm just going to deploy Tricksters at end of turn. Because again, if I play things at sorcery speed, Fury blows me out. Chris Ross, does my Shaman list match up well again with the current meta? I haven't played since April. I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know. I think about hitting the Magus, but I'm like, nah, screw it. Let them attack if they want to attack. I think I would actually prefer that they attack, because again, I don't want to get hit by Fury, so I want to end of turn my Trickster. So by end of turning Trickster here, I'm guaranteed like 4 damage, and I don't get hit by Fury. And they're like, what does this Trickster do? Well, it's a 2/2 creature. That's about it. Okay. Yeah, target it, does nothing. Mind you, if I target Magus of the Moon, everything is still a mountain.
Layers.
Because of layers. Yeah, layers. Alright.
So stupid.
Why did the layers work?
Because Richard Garfield's a bitch.
I don't even know if Richard Garfield was even responsible. But anyway, okay, I attack for 4. That explanation is fine with me, by the way. My explanation's not better. Is there a link for this gameplay? You can see in the description. You get to see the full gameplay. I do have to, yes, I do have to target with Trickster, but it's not going to do anything against Magus of the Moon. Alright, they're going to attack for 2. And now here, I'm okay if they... Well, actually, I'm not really that okay with... Oh, no, I am very okay with Fury because I have a Subtlety in my hand. Super okay with Fury. Maybe I should have played Sveloon. Actually, maybe I didn't need to play the Trickster at that point, because then I could play Sveloon and I can beat the stupid...
Handshake over.
Yeah, handshake over. Then I could... Yeah, I should have played Sveloon there. I mean, what I did was fine. Whatever. We got a nice spec. There's my brother. You see what my brother does? When a player is done, he'll sit...
I swoop right in for that seat.
Swoop right in. He'll be the first person to grab that seat. We are here for... I don't know what round is it. With round 7 of MTG Vegas. But this is the 4th match on stream. And I'm up against Wouter. Now, Wouter is playing Is It Breach? This deck is the talk of the town. It is the deck to beat in Modern. Everyone's making articles. Is It Breach is like the new sliced bread of Modern. You got to be prepared. Is It Breach has taken over the metagame. It's got some really good surprise results. Now, Wouter, interestingly enough, is already qualified to day 2 of this event. See, this tournament was broken out in 4 separate events. And all you need to do is get into the top 8 of one of those events, and then you make day 2, the top 32. He's already qualified. He crushed people with Is It Breach, and he's crushing everyone again. Finally, I have to prove myself versus someone of a high quality caliber opponent. But here's the good news. I've never lost to Is It Breach in my life with Merfolk. It just so happens like they have islands. My dismembers line up very well with their creatures. All I have to do is like Hex Catcher or Force to negate the Underworld Breach and I win. I have never lost to this deck. In fact, I don't even side in Chalice of the Void on 0 because I don't even care. I don't even care. I don't even know what the right sideboard plan is. Maybe I'm not even sideboarding optimally. I have just crushed this deck every single time I play against it. So, am I lucky? I don't know. Am I lucky or is this a good matchup? Wouter told me that he's not happy about this matchup at all. So maybe it is actually legitimately a good matchup. Did he get into the beta draft as well? No, he didn't. He missed out on he missed his winning in. Prove that beach is greater than breach. Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely. The sea is one with the beach. So as you see, I'm on the other side now because they didn't plan on me being on camera. So the main person is on the left. It's the person they wanted to have on camera. All right, so where can this game start? Because we do a lot of shuffling. All right, good enough. All right, I play turn 1, Mutavault, Ether Vial, go. And I have a hand. I don't really love Ether Vial hands with Mutavault, but I do see that I have a Silver Gill Adept, which means if I draw any island, then I'm in good shape. Because I can play my Silver Gill Adept off that island. I might have a Hex Catcher as well. My opponent fetches. I do believe... How many cards does he have in his hand? I can't remember if it's this game or the next game, but he has one game where he mulligans down to 5. It's just a bad start. And that puts me in like a good position to like just scoop him up. Well, it's not this game because it has a grip full of cards. Hand is full of cards. And we see Ragavan! Turn 1 Ragavan. Fortunately, not on the play. And plays the Mox Amber, so some extra ramp. But I do have a Dismember in hand. I've lined it up, and this is exactly what it's for. 4x Dismember for those Ragavans, baby. Eat Dismember. I know someone out there is like, which member? Dismember.
It's my line.
Well, you didn't make it up, that's for sure. Alright, opponent has like, well, they have a lot of cards in hand, but I don't care. I think they go like grinding station here. But the most important thing is to get rid of that stupid Ragavan. Because that Ragavan, like, especially in a deck that's playing blue, they can like just grab your creatures, start playing them, and be a Merfolk deck. Seriously, I've lost so many times like that. I'm just praying, please find Silver Gill Adept. Please find islands. Outside of that, they can play all my cards. That's no fun.
Well, it's fun for them.
So they fetch
I
out.
love it.
They shock and fetch, which is good for us. That's what I love as a Merfolk player. And then I can't remember why, but I'm decided. Okay, I'm gonna shuffle. I am not satisfied with the shuffle for whatever reason. And then they go grinding station. I'm like, sure, I don't care. Oh no, it's not grind. Oh, they play Emery. All right, Emery away. And they find a Mox Opal, which is a pretty big deal because now they can loop it around like it's Luris. And I play a Tide Shaper at end of turn because it's a 2-2. Still a 2-2. I find a Cavern of Souls. Booyah! So now I can play Silver Gill Adept on my turn. And we do have Ether Vials to just do stuff. But here's the deal. Like, our opponent's already at 14. They're not that far from just dying. They're so close to just snap dying here. If your opponent goes turn 2 station, you're in very good shape. I think that is also why they say on commentary. That's true. No, they got Emery. Emery is good, because then it turns on the Mox Amber. I attack for 2. I believe I play my Silver Gill Adept. I show a Trickster. I don't play Trickster, though, until my opponent is done with their turn, because, playing Trickster at upkeep on Emery is useless. It just doesn't do anything. I'd rather, like, if they tried to dash at Ragavan, I would try to tap it down. Because the thing is, if I Trickster the Emery at my upkeep, at their upkeep, they can still target the Mox Opal. Not Mox Opal. Mishra's Bauble, that's what I'm saying. Mishra's Bauble. There's a Mishra's Bauble in the graveyard. They can still target the Mishra's Bauble and still play it for the turn. Alright, here come the grinding station. Grind away. Go for it. And I'm like, it resolves. Do whatever you want. And now they're going to be like, okay, now I want to really go. Oh yeah, another thing is like, I have a Hex Catcher in my hand, so I don't want to commit to a Trickster at all. So now they play the Underworld Breach, and I'm like, no! F that. Or did they have an Amber in their graveyard, and they were going to bring it back? Maybe they had an Amber in their graveyard. I can't see. I can't remember. So I play my Hex Catcher and sack my Silver Gill Adept on the Underworld Breach. And then that's it. This deck is goes to trash. I think that's... Maybe that was a Mox Amber. No, it was... Yeah, no, it was a bauble. It was a bauble. Yeah, there was a bauble. Okay, as I thought. Any reason not to wait for their combat to dismember? I do believe they have some counter spells.
It was a land.
I can't remember, but I do think they have. I can't remember. Maybe dismembering the Ragavan on their turn is actually more accurate. That's possible, because otherwise they could have like played a second Ragavan. I want to say they have some spell pierces in this deck, but I don't remember. Like two main deck spell pierces. But anyway, we're in supreme good shape, unless they have like another Underworld. Well, actually, another Underworld Breach doesn't even matter because I have the Hexcatcher in play. So we are prepared to sack like 3 creatures in order to keep our thing alive, to counter it. So this is the deck to beat, people. This is the deck a lot of people are making articles about. So now I decide to maximize damage on the battlefield. Put this Mass of the Pearl Tread on the board. It's not a big risk. And also, in a situation where I might need to use Hexcatcher, it is good to have a lot more creatures committed to the battlefield. So I have like Mutavault. So I have a Svelune in hand, but I'm better off holding up my Trickster so that I can activate Mutavault just in case I need to sack Mutavault to Hexcatcher. And my opponent scoops, and then we go to game 2. Finally, you're streaming in the evening. Well, only for this. This is an exception. It's an exception to the rule. Alright, so how do I don't remember how I sideboarded. I brought in Force and Negation. And I think I brought in 4 Force Negation and 2 Spreading Season. I think I took out 2 Curse Catcher and 4 Silvergill Adept. I think. I don't remember, though. Okay, so the key thing that makes me win this game is that my opponent's on the play and they actually have to mulligan to 5. So that sucks to be them, but you know what? We beat them when they had 7 card hands.
Are you going to Atlanta?
What Atlanta?
There's a tournament in Atlanta.
Oh, no, I'm not going to Atlanta. I am going to Philadelphia, though.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of.
For the next... Oh, I thought you were talking about someone in chat. Yeah, I'm going to go to Philadelphia. So my opponent has another hand. Oh, God. 3 breaches, 3... I think it was 3 blasting stations, 3 breaches, and an Urza Saga. It's terrible.
That's
so now,
a keeper.
Now they're going to mulligan down to whatever. I'm all good with it. Who's talking? Well, me. And my brother. My brother's here. The whole morning crowd has no idea you exist. You just don't show up. He's here for all my gameplay.
Tummy reveal? Yeah, sure. If you rewind a bit, you'll see the whole face.
Yeah. See the stomach. See his butt crack pretty often.
You can just piece all these things together. Get a pretty good composite of what it looks like.
Yeah, get a collage of your butt crack and your belly. I might make Philly. Want to meet Lord Magicus. Philly gang, rise up. Yeah. I better book my flight. Like I'm like 99%, or no, I should say I'm 95% sure I'm going to Philadelphia.
What's the big prize?
We don't know. They gave us absolutely nothing. I hope it's the same thing. I hope there's another modern event with a beta draft at the top. Cause damn, did I badly want? I thought that this was my moment. I could have swore it was destiny. I was gonna get like a Black Lotus, and then in the end I got a damn plateau. All right, they go play. What is it? Steam Vents? No, I guess it's Scalding Tarn. Go get themselves a land. I have Ether Vial. Life is good for me. If I remember correctly, my hand is stacked. Or maybe not. I don't know. I have Dismember and I think a Tide Shaper, which is good. I can win a Beta Savannah. Yeah, I'm gonna collect all the worst dual lands in Beta. Does your brother feel comfy enough with Merfolk to run it through a league?
Only on my brother's dollar.
Yeah. Philly has a Modern 5K this Sunday, then Eternal Weekend next month, then Magic Fest in February. You guys are lucky. You guys have tons of stuff. I gotta spend over $1,000 to go play in anything that I want to play in. All right, they go Grinding Station. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Cool story, bro. Oh, and I drew Force Negation, which means they're even more screwed than they were before, because that's like just the hard counter to their Underworld Breach. I mean, they can have Counterspell backup, but it's not really relevant. I can't remember what I'm thinking here. Oh, I'm playing Tide Shaper. And I hit the white source. Oh, because I had the option... Oh no, they have no island. That's the problem. They've got no island. They have a Sacred Foundry and this other stupid land. Is that what they fetched with the Scalding Tarn? Well, whatever. Okay, so, yeah, we put something on there. So now my little guy is a 2-2. The 2-2 that could. And they play Expressive Iteration, which I decide... Given my opponent has mulliganed to nothing, I decide to counter this. I do have a Force of Negation. I could save it for a Breach, but do you know what? I think it's better that, you know, I don't give, like, more food to a Breach in the future. I just get rid of this stupid thing. And they play a land. Do you know what's interesting? That actually is a sign that they don't have counter magic. Or it's likely that they don't have counter magic. I didn't pick up on that at the time because I didn't care. My hand was stacked. But if your opponent plays a spell that they want... Oh no, forget it. It was Expressive Iteration. Forget about it. No. Okay. All that analysis is useless. Because it's possible that they would have played a land off of Expressive Iteration. So you have to play the Expressive Iteration first. Is opponent also Polish? No, they were actually from the Netherlands. They told me they were from the Netherlands. That name is not Polish at all. Not even close. It's European. It is that. So I am just beating my opponent down for 4 damage at a time. If I remember correctly, I think I have Subtlety in my hand as well. So I'm just being very careful what I play. I may not even play anything off of my vial.
You can't lose. Basically.
They have a cool name. They do have a cool name. Wouter Nurji. I don't know. Sorry, Wouter. The last name does sound Polish a little though. I guess with the DZ thing, sure. The OO part? No. Don't think so. Snow-covered island. They're sort of flooding out. Alright, we got a Teferi Time Reveler. And I have, I believe, do I have Subtlety? Pretty sure I have Subtlety in my hand. Even if I don't, I'm in such good position versus this Teferi that it could probably resolve and I could beat it because they'll bounce something, but I'll just replay something from my hand with Ether Vial, kill it, because I do have Mutavault, so even if they have I can attack through removal. Oh, I have Force and Negation. I was thinking, what do I do here? And I believe I'm pretty sure I force pitch Svelune. Because Svelune is a bit of a liability here. I don't want to tick my Vial up to 3 and be stuck with blue-blue cards, because I need this Vial for my blue-blue creatures, because I only have Mutavault and Island in play. So they play Ragavan. I play my Master of the Pearl Trident. I got 8 power in play. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to blast this Ragavan into the sun. Draw Mutavault, best thing to draw. Pay for a life, go to 16, attack for 8. And my opponent is basically drawing dead. Makel says, I'm from the Netherlands. Alright. So you can confirm this person's from... Do you know this guy? Do you know Wouter?
Do you ride a bike?
The Amazing Wally says, I'm pretty sure it's Wouter. Okay, that's fine. Coming from someone with the angelicized version of that name. It's pronounced Wouter. Okay. Okay, what happened here? My opponent found Underworld Breach, sacked their blasting station, and now there's nothing to go get, and this is going to be the game. They're going to think for a very long time and then concede. Merfolk again with just... And this is how I win all these games. I put some pressure on the board, I interact with their stuff, and I win. I don't even need to really kill the Ragavan. Ragavan is a nuisance. Well, I mean, actually, Ragavan... You don't want them to get the treasure tokens, I guess. You can try to block Ragavan. Nardoto says, is it me or have you been playing less game and the mono blue mid-range version? Didn't want to go with this one. So what happened actually is I was trying to prepare for Vegas with the mono blue mid-range deck, but I couldn't beat Ren and 6. And I just thought this deck had a better game versus Ren and 6, and the Ren and 6 decks were on the rise, so this is what I went with. Couldn't be Ren. I was wondering if he's going to play mono blue Fae or mid-range. I just couldn't be Ren and 6. On the draw, that is. On the play, I don't mind, but on the draw, it was too big of a hassle. So I went with Merfolk. And it rewarded me again for the billionth time. I'm up against Carlos, who is on Crashing Footfalls, which I already crushed 2 times in this tournament already. So I'm quite comfortable playing this Crashing Footfalls match. And I'm very happy with how these games play out. My opponents have insane amounts of removal and Furies and Crashing Footfalls, and I still win anyway, so that's a good sign for Merfolk, in my opinion. Still lose this matchup, but whatever, I think we got some good tools. What else can I say about this match? I was hoping I could draw. Oh, lucky roll. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for the $2. So here's the deal. I had great tiebreakers. I could draw into day 2, but my opponent couldn't. They had garbage tiebreakers. I had really, really good tiebreakers. Unfortunately, I didn't get paired down or anything, but I thought I'd get paired up. I didn't get paired against a single one of the people who are like basically undefeated. There were 3 people who had, like, I had, what, 18 points at this point? And there was 1 person with 19, and there was 2 people with 20. Why didn't they pair me against any of those guys? Anyway, I thought it was a bit weird. What were the matches that didn't stream? Good question. I played against... I don't remember what my round one match was.
There was a hammer that didn't get streamed.
No, that was day 2.
Oh.
Okay, on day 2, I was up against Zoo and Hammer. On day 1... I played against 4-color Omnath Scape Shift. Maybe it was 5-color, actually. I played against Scred Red with Modern Horizons upgrade. So they had the Fury, they had Ragavan, and they had Seasoned Pyromancer. I also played against... I guess it's just one more, because 6 of my other... I can't remember what my round 1 match was. Maybe I have it in here, but I don't remember. Did I write it down? I think I wrote down my first round opponent's deck, and then that was it. I don't remember. Can't tell you. Maybe if it comes back to my head. I think my opponent mulligan to 6.
Sleeves like that shouldn't be.
Oh, they
allowed.
mulligan to 5. All right, great. So, okay, you do need one of 3. You need to have a good deck, you need to play really well, and you need to either get lucky or your opponents get unlucky. And I would say my opponents got pretty unlucky in this tournament. Like, against Wouter, in one of the games, he had to mulligan down to 5. That's great. And in this match, Carlos mulligan down to 5. Now, he's on the draw, so he gets to draw another card, but still, you got to use that luck. There's no way you're making top 8s of big tournaments where things need to go your way. There's no way you're not going to make the top 8 without things going your way. And the crazy Batman sleeves. Well,
those sleeves should be banned in tournaments like these. Everybody should just have plain colored dragon sleeves.
Well, then that will kill the market for novelty sleeves.
But I mean in tournaments like these.
Well, what does it matter?
These could be marked.
So can a regular sleeve. Oh, I see, but it's so much harder.
Yes.
It's easier to like or so you could just put like a little dot or something somewhere. Oh, that's a neat point.
That's the first thing I thought when I saw them when we were live.
Interesting. Didn't think about that. Well, anyway, we just have to wait for someone to get caught for them to ban sleeves like that. But until then, we just have to assume that they're playing honorably. Okay, my opponent starts off with Crashing Footfalls, and I have nothing else to do, so I play like Silvergill Adept, Revealing Svelune. If I'm not mistaken, I do not have another land in my hand. I gotta do my best to work with this Cavern of Souls and Mutavault. His sleeves look so thick he might play 80 cards. Could be. If one sleeve was upside down, that could be a tell. definitely seen playing cards that have those kinds of markings. Says Monster CC. Just a reminder, if you want to check out the whole stream, there's going to be a link in the description. Go check out Anu's YouTube channel and Twitch stream for all live Paper Modern. And he does other papers, like, you know, Paper Legacy, Paper Events. He's doing a great job right now. No one's streaming this stuff, and he's doing a great job. Look, he's got the webcams up and everything. You have no idea how much work he put into this. It's just so crazy. El Flapo says Merfolk easily has to be a creature type of them all. That's right, Merfolk. What I love is that even in today's harsh environment, Merfolk is still, you know, kicking. Oh, if I remember correctly, I have a Mutavault in the hand, and I have a Tide Shaper, so I decided to attack for 2, and I tried to play my Tide Shaper to target my own Mutavault and turn it into an island, because otherwise I can't cast my cards. Because I need a second blue card. I kept a Mutavault hand because I had Silvergill Adept, that's fine. But now we've gotten to turn 3 where I want to play my blue creatures, and I can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play I'm going to play my Mutavault, and then I'm going to try to Tide Shaper target my Mutavault. Because I could use the islands, and targeting my opponent's land seems pretty useless. So here's the Tide Shaper. Opponent's like, can I look at that? Can I interact with that ability on the stack? And I'm like, yeah, you absolutely can. And they're gonna completely blow it up. Zeagle said 3 years ago, if you said Merfolk will make 2 top 8s of such an event, humans, elves, and spirits players would have laughed very hard. Yep, they would have.
We're there now.
Yeah, where are they now? They're all gone. F them all. I don't think elves would have. Well, maybe the elf players would have laughed, but I don't think the elf players had any chance. Elf made only, I think, one or 2 top 8s. Oh, we got Tulio in the house. I've been finding Svaelun very bad in 90% of situations, especially now with binding printed. I still think Svaelun is still good versus Fury decks. Like, because you can play Svaelun and it will exchange with a Fury. At worst case scenario, best case scenario, it just sticks on the battlefield. And I still think it is the type of card that really pulls you ahead in a lot of combo matchups where you will expel a lot. Like, there's some matchups you gotta go like Force of Negation, Subtlety, and you want the cards back, and that's where Svaelun comes in play. Yeah, where's humans now? They're all gone. Take that, Manus Rider. I played a humans player not too long ago. I completely obliterated them. Subtlety is amazing versus them. And what do they do? I think they're gonna fire both my Tide Shaper and my Silvergill Adept away. Yeah. Wah, wah. So I get sniped off here. Oh well. It's not the situation I wanted to put myself in, but I had no choice. There's nothing else I could do. How do you feel about Silvergill Adept right now? Is the card draw running a 2-1 that kind of slow? I think Silvergill Adept is a really mediocre card, but like, it's still a fine game 1 card, and then you side it out in games 2 and 3. So I get my Otawara, which is nice. Now I can just play cards. I put the Svaelun in play. Yay, Svaelun! F your Fury. You want to kill this thing? You have to spend 2 cards on it. Opponent has a Force Negation in hand, which is completely useless. And then end of turn, I think. I don't even remember what they do. Oh, they Leyline Binding. Alright, goodbye. Goodbye, Svaelun. Bye-bye. Now, again, against Crashing Footfalls, we're not in terrible shape because they fetch and shock so much that they're still so close to dying. What I do here. I have like a lot of good options. I have Trickster, I have Lords. Like, my life total is at 20, so they can like, I think I've just passed the turn and I Trickster at end of turn, and then I probably will play a Lord and push through some damage. Because if I play a Lord here, they can just fire Dead Gone or whatever my Lord. There's like no point for me to tap out on my turn. We can just pass the turn here. Silvergill Adept, still best, fish in my heart. Oh, but I should attack for 2. There's no doubt I should attack for 2 here. Not sure what I'm thinking about at this point. I do go with the Lord? So that they don't fire my Mutavault or something? Attack for 3. What is their life total at? Their life total is at 12. I mean, I don't have to commit any more creatures here. I don't have to. Or maybe this was a way to overload, like, more leyline bindings and other stuff. Because if I play Trickster... Oh, I see the problem here. Okay, so let's say there's these 2 rhinos now. And let's say they have 1 piece of removal and I play Trickster. Then all they have to do is kill my Lord on my turn. And I can't get through the rhinos. So now that I have this Lord in play, I can play another Lord. And I can at least attack with a Mutavault. And if they have 1 removal spell, they have to use it on the Lord of Atlantis. And, like, if they have Fury, it's not that big of a deal. Because if I have 2 Lords in play, anyway, they can only kill 1 Lord anyhow. So here comes a Shardless Agent. So I'm like, yep, cool story, bro. No, it's a lot of rhinos, but at the same time, there's nothing it's not lethal yet. They can't attack at the moment. Now, I just need... That is a lot of damage. It's 18 damage, and if they have Violent Outburst, I can die. So I think I attack with a Mutavault for 3 and play Trickster, and I just set myself up for a situation... Because I can't kill them this turn anyway. Like, if I were to play Lord... Attack with Mutavault and Lord, that says 7 damage. They go down to 2, so they're not dead no matter what. So I'm just trying to find a line that keeps myself alive as much as possible while still threatening lethal next turn, and this is the way I do it. I attack for 3, and I plan on trickstering 1 Rhino, and they'll definitely not be able to kill me. And then I can just play a Lord and win.
Easy clap.
Yeah, well, I don't know about easy clap. I mean, they could still play any removal and ruin me.
It's not gonna happen. It's impossible. We know it didn't happen.
Oboro fixes the blue mana by spending your land drop for the turn. You can protect something important against the... Oh yeah, that's why I have Oboro. This is not... Oboro's not in play, though. I have an Otawara.
More like boring.
Now, what's funny is this is game 1. Okay, I think my opponent's about to play Teferi Time Raveler. Okay, they're playing a land just in case I have Spell Pierce. Okay, they played Teferi. I'm going to play Subtlety here. But thanks to squeezing in Harbinger in my sideboard, I had to put Subtleties into my main deck. So, thanks to indirectly, Harbinger saved me here. Because it forced me to have a Subtlety in my main. Lucky Roll asks, have I seen the new Ajani versus Teferi cinematic? No, I haven't seen it yet.
Teferi better win.
Oh, Teferi's gonna win. And here come the rhinos. And I'm like, no, 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 I got effects. Effects, damn it. I'm gonna tap a rhino. And now they're like, I'm dead. Well, crap. They're dead anyway, actually. They can't beat the board. I have the Lord of Atlantis. I'm like, okay, let's go to the next game. Good game, let's have another. And I was protected versus removal anyway. So if I played my Lord next turn, I don't think a single... Well, maybe Leyline Binding. No, not even Leyline Binding would have saved them. I would have had a Trickster and 2 creatures and a Lord. I could attack with everything. El Flapo says, seriously, a late stream. Alright, so I do the same strategy I do against all the other Crashing Footfall deck. This is actually where I switch gears, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really want Silvergill in this matchup. I want Tideshaper, because it's less vulnerable to the stupid Fire and Ice. So I actually side out Silvergill Adept here, for the first time, this entire tournament, and to decide that Tideshaper is a much more worthwhile card to have in my deck. Because it's like a 1 blue drop as a 2/2 creature, and it will absorb an entire fire if they want to play fire on it. Your Crashing Footfall's opponent really seemed too flustered with your unexpected deck. Well, of course, they're all flustered. Merfolk, this far in the tournament? What's going on here?
I thought they would have kicked you out of the tournament.
Yeah. This is all modern legal. Damn it, spilling my drink.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I spilt my drink all over him.
But Carlos played it the best by far, right? Carlos was the best pilot of Crashing Footfalls this day. I think my first round, the first Crashing Footfall player and this one is a good. They played very well. Like the first Crashing Footfall player sort of blundered versus Merfolk. Like they didn't see the Tide Shaper thing and they mystical disputed with the Cavern Souls. But they had the right strategy of like remove creatures, remove creatures, remove creatures. Don't let me have too much stuff on the battlefield. They actually played well. They played very patiently with their Violent Outburst. They made sure they dealt with the board first before they put the Footfalls in play. They just made some like Merfolk specific matchup mistakes. But they probably learned from it and they'll never do it again. Except fetching Foundry. Oh yeah, that who knows how often that happens. After this tournament, I'm gonna pay extra close attention to every single thing people fetch. Alright, Island, Vial. Or sorry, no, I don't have Vial. I got the Tide Shaper. There we go. I got a little beat. I got a beat stick in play. Kill this thing or let it kill you. Look at that fear. Oh, look at all those Furies in their deck. Oh god. And the Leyline Binding. So much removal now. The guys at the door actually usually turn away Merfolk players, but Nikachu took one for the team and pretended to be sponsored by Pepsi, so they let him in.
I'm holding another can of Pepsi. It's probably my third that day.
You were paying $3.50 a piece for this?
Yeah, it sure was.
Oh, wait a minute. You never gave me the change back from any of the bills I gave you.
That's
so
right, I never did.
Oh yeah, so now I know where you got the money for all this stuff. I just don't have to tell my brother I still have this money on me.
Well, I gave you the receipts.
Yeah, I got the receipts.
And now you can claim it on your whatever.
But I'm actually getting my money back. Yeah, Nikachu up $11.50 for the day. More than that, he would wake up in the middle of the night and go to McDonald's.
I needed coffee.
Yeah, needed coffee. No free coffee at the Golden Gate.
Stupid.
All right. So they're icing my island, preparing, which is an okay play because now I can't play Hexcatcher or anything. I can't play Hexcatcher. They're in a good position to play their Violent Outburst or Shardless Agent. I play Mutavault, pass. I attack for 2. And I'm just looking again. Beat down, beat down, beat down. Don't expose myself to Fury. And do my best from there. It actually looks like they are not in a position. They're not in a position to. They don't have Violent Outburst or Shardless Agent, so they can't do anything. In this game, they have 2 Omnaths in hand, and they badly need to find 1 more land to get that thing online. And I don't have double blue mana, which is also awkward. I believe I have Hexcatcher in hand, so I just attack for 2. Because I think they might Violent Outburst me here, but they don't. I just pass, so... Anyway, I get the sense, like, maybe they have Violent Outburst, and we do this game of passing back and forth. Turns out they have, what's it called? Mystical Dispute in hand. Which is good for me. Because I'm not playing into it right now. And now they draw the Violent Outburst. Now they draw Violent Outburst, and now they're passing. And I'm in the situation like, okay, I don't want Violent Outburst to resolve, so I'm gonna pass with my Hexcatcher. I can wait for a better spot. Okay, so now I drew another island, which is good because I have 2 Hexcatchers in hand. Now I attack for 2. I believe I'm gonna try to press more damage though, if I'm not mistaken. Do I try to press more damage or I pass again? Maybe I pass. Yeah, I think I just attack for 2. Yeah, because I actually have no reason to play Hexcatcher and get blown out by Fury. But my opponent doesn't want to keep taking damage. And for all they know, I have like a strict counter to their Cascade spell, so they don't want to play into it at the moment until they can protect it with another land. So our opponent is waiting desperately for a 4th land. Because it looks like I have a ton of interaction, which is true. I do have that interaction. At this point, if they don't cast Outburst on your upkeep, you can assume they don't have it. No, not true at all, because we have this game of... Because it looks like I have interaction, so they don't want to play into my interaction. So now I'm playing the Hexcatcher, because now I can if they have Outburst, I can back it up with another Hexcatcher. I do have another Hexcatcher in hand. Like, if they're not going to tap out, I can always assume that they have Outburst, because I'm not tapping out. So why do they want to tap out to play their Outburst if I'm not tapping out? If I tap out, like, how about this? If I tap out and they don't play Outburst, then they don't have Outburst. But so long as my mana has always been open, they could always be playing around counter magic, and I should still be playing around an Outburst. So I play Hexcatcher here because I have another Hexcatcher, so if they go Outburst, I just play in response. And they're in a really awkward spot because they have the Mystical Dispute. They have Mystical Dispute. Maybe, and it's a really tough call whether if they Mystical Dispute this or they go for the Violent Outburst. And they decide to go for the Violent Outburst. It's a really awkward spot for them. They can't do anything else to their hand either. So they're going to put a Crashing Footfalls on the stack. I'm going to play the other Hexcatcher that I had in my hand. I mean, the only reason I'm playing this Hexcatcher is because I can play the other one in response, sack it, and still have one creature in play. Just one. Do you die if they slam Omnath? Probably not. I would just dump my hand and then just go to war. I would just dump my hand like 2 Hexcatchers. I'd play both Hexcatchers and play a Lord, and I'd have a huge board and try to race the Omnath, and I'd probably win. Because I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of Lords in my hand. Alright, play another Mutavault and attack with a Mutavault. I maximize the Mutavaults on the battlefield because, well, I can sack them. The Hexcatcher. Now, I believe I tried to maximize my damage here with Lord of Atlantis so that if they Fury me, I'd be okay with it because I can just follow it up with land, Lord of Atlantis, attack for 6, put my opponent down to 3, and I have, with 3 Mutavaults in play, I was pretty sure I was going to win from here. Because my opponent, my opponent still has a good chunk of cards in hand, I should say. If they play Leyline on Tideshaper, you're in great shape. Or they have a lot of removal in hand. Okay, so they are going to Fury my board away. And I was prepared for this. I was prepared. I made the line that I did because... yeah, I made the line that I did knowing that this could happen. It is possible I could have just attacked for 7 with my 2 Mutavaults and my Hexcatcher. Because my opponent was tapped out. But I didn't take that line. I do have another Lord. I believe I do play this Lord, attack for 6. Because I don't really have anything else to do. And even if I don't attack for 6, if they kill if they killed my Lord of Atlantis, like whatever, or if they kill my Lord, I'll at least attack for 4, and I'm still in a pretty good position to win the game. Bruce Woodcock says, I need to dig the Violent Outbursts out of my bulk and sell them before it gets reprinted. Or banned. I don't think Violent Outbursts is at really good risk of getting banned, but some people think it should be banned.
Me.
Okay, so the situation here is my opponent accidentally dropped a card and just got a judge to go get it. Make sure everything is okay. No funny stuff. I looked on the replay, there was no funny stuff, they just fumbled a card from their hand.
I think it was just a big psyop.
Could have been.
Just to distract you.
The more I look at this game, I probably shouldn't have played that Lord of Atlantis. I should just attack for 7. That was a mistake. I should have just have attacked for 7. I can't remember what I was playing around, if I was playing around anything. Mystical Potato, loved watching you on stream like when I first discovered you. Why didn't you play with your cards? I am playing with my cards. These are cards. Alright, so I play... What's going on here? Oh, I'm playing Tideshaper on my main phase. And I'm forcing my opponent... I believe I'm going to hit the red source and force my opponent to, like, use removal or not. Like, if they float a red... Because my Lord is pretty important. So I'm forcing them... Okay, if you have Violent Outburst, show me you got the Violent Outburst. If you've got... Dead/Gone or Fire or any of that stuff, I need to protect my Lord of Atlantis. If the Lord of Atlantis is more or less invincible, I'm in good shape. So anyway, they play Mystical Dispute. At first I'm like, oh, this is gonna get countered. But then I realized, oh, I have 3 lands in play. Why are we gonna let this thing get countered? That doesn't make any sense. To hell with that. I'm not gonna. So anyway, I end up deciding that paying, because I could let it die. I could let it get countered, but anyway, there's no point to it.
Where's the fun?
Yeah, well, let's just keep this guy around. Yeah, I'm gonna pay the 3. I'm trying to figure out a reason why not to, but I don't find a good reason. Like, if you have removal and you're gonna use removal in response, okay, that's fine. Then I'll play. It's one less piece of removal for my Master of the Pearl Trident. Aren't all yours full Japanese? Oh, because I stopped foiling out my deck when COVID hit. That's why. I'm working on foiling out the deck again, but I stopped foiling out when COVID hit. So I hit the red mountain because I want my opponent's turns to be very predictable for me. I don't want to be trying to playing around stupid red removal the entire time. So they leyline binding my Tide Shaper, which is totally fine. For 2 mana, we soaked up a Mystical Dispute. Or I guess I spent 5 mana technically. A leyline binding and a Mystical Dispute hit this guy. So my opponent's still looking for that 4th land. I think I could beat an Omnath at this point anyway. It's not a big deal. Because they've run out of removal. I'd play a Master of the Pearl Trident, attack for 6, and then attack for 6 the next turn. And I still have more creatures in my hand. I think I have a Trickster? I don't remember what I do. I think I play Master of the Pearl Trident and attack for 6. And I do this because if my opponent has Violent I can't play around Violent Outburst. Like, I don't have any good way to play around Violent Outburst, so this is the only way I can get in unblockable damage. Because I do have a Trickster in my hand. If they kill this thing, okay, that's fine. They're down to 3. And probably I can work away. I can work some sort of win with my Trickster. Oh, they drew a Fury. There we go. And the Fury only has 1 thing to eat. And then they're dead.
3.
Now they're like, okay,
2,
I've lost.
1.
There's like nothing I can do. This is me, where I'm just playing it out to see what happens. Dead on board to 3 Mutabolts. But maybe I don't attack with them, because if I have if they have Violent Outburst, I get crushed. Here's Lord of Atlantis, and that's more than good enough. I have basically the same line as last time. Activate 2 Mutabolts. Go get them. And I do it, and I make the top 8. We make the top 8. Here's all the... We make the top 8 of the, well, of this first day 1 event. It was just the top 8 of the day 1 event, which made me qualify for the top 32 of day 2. And that's it. I hope you got some insight as to why I constructed the deck, how I played it. Sorry that it was all crashing footfall matchups, but I think it's a really instructive matchup because it's a pretty common one right now in Modern. Would you have attacked with 3 Mutavaults? Probably not. Because I have Trickster in my hand. I'd probably just pass the... If I didn't have a Lord of Atlantis or anything like that, I'd probably just pass the turn. And depending on what my opponent would do, then I would end of turn. Because what I could do is, let's say they have Violent Outburst. I'd pass the turn. They play Violent Outburst. They get 2 Crashing Footfalls. And then let's say they don't attack with anything. Then I would Trickster one of them, and then I would attack for 8. Would they block 1 and still die? That's probably what I would do. And then if they don't play a Violent Outburst, alright, they'll play Trickster at end of turn and attack with attack for 8, and they can't block. Even if they had Violent Outburst, they'd still die at 3. They wouldn't be able to block enough things. It's too bad you guys didn't see day 2. I had a hot game versus Zoo, where I had to play 3 Dismembers to kill their creatures. I was at 8 life, and you could die at any moment to like Tribal Flames and Lightning Bolts, and they had it in their hand. And they used up their burn to kill my creature. So it was a real nail-biter of a game. But I was able to pull it through. Do you think, Alan Wong says, do you think you would have gotten as far with the Fairies Fish deck against these opponents? I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be my answer. I'm not too sure. Because I did play against one Ren and 6 deck, and they potentially would have wrecked me, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I'm not going to complain. I was pretty happy with my deck choice in the end. I had to switch it up before going to Vegas. Had to go find them hex catchers. That was actually a little awkward.
Had to sleep in a crappy hotel room.
Oh yeah, yeah. Golden Gate was terrible, but they all know about that. All right, but that was it. So thank you very much for watching. Thumbs up, sub to my Patreon, or become a YouTube member, or sub on Twitch in order to get to my Discord, because there is a sideboard guide for this deck in the Discord, the paywalled part of the Discord, and yeah, hopefully you all win with Merfolk. Hope you enjoyed it. So thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.